It's late October in the Hoosier State. With Halloween right around the corner, it's that time of year. On a record-breaking Sunday in central Indiana, GNCC has reached round 9 in another classic edition of the Yamaha Ironman GNCC. It's been 2 weeks since Caleb Russell clinched his 8th consecutive championship, and since 2017 since he's even lined up at Ironman. But the champ is here and ready to race on his farewell tour in Crawfordsville. But red-hot Stu Baylor is here too, and he's on a heater, going 3 for 3 since returning from summer break. A mature ride last round in Pennsylvania at the Mason-Dixon, coupled with a strategic pit schedule and a dusty racetrack that required multiple filter swaps for every OEM but Yamaha, Baylor worked his way through the field and finished just seconds in front of Ben Kelly. Now, a healthy Kelly has proven to be Stu's biggest competition. While the championship may be wrapped up, there's still plenty to race for. With the future of the XC1 class, Baylor and Kelly appear to be the heirs to the throne. Possibly the closest race on the track, though, will be in the XC2, as just 6 points separate first through third, and Johnny Girard, Craig DeLong, and Mike Witowski. Who's it going to be? Can the champ win one more time at Ironman? Or can Stu make it 4 in a row? Find out next, live on RacerTV.
Are you ready to go GNCC Racing? Hello and welcome to America's premier off-road racing championship, the 2020 GNCC Series, presented by Specialized, an AMA National Championship. I'm Rodney Tomlin along with Mikey Waynes and, of course, Johnny Gallagher today, as we'll be bringing you the live play-by-play call of this 25-year celebration and 26th running of the Yamaha Racing Ironman GNCC. The Shaver family farm in Crawfordsville, Indiana, kind of southern Indiana, if you will. And I'll tell you, folks, what an amazing weekend we have had so far with ATV racing. Actually, it all kicked off on Friday with the atmosphere of what the Ironman is all about. Folks from all over the nation and all over the world making their way in, and, of course, all around the region, packing in and getting themselves ready for this historic running of this great event. And of course, as far as weather is concerned, rain showers throughout the week leading into it, about 3 inches or so of rain earlier in the week, which, well, fell on dry conditions and didn't really do anything but make things a lot more healthy as far as the soils were concerned. A lot more moisture, so not nearly as much dust as we saw a couple of weeks ago. Temperatures are quite cool. We're only looking for temperatures in the lower 50s today as far as a high. So a far cry different than what we saw just 2 weeks ago at the Mason-Dixon GNCC in Taylortown, Pennsylvania, where, of course, we saw rather warm conditions. Nothing really over the top as far as warm, but what was over the top was the dry, dusty conditions. It caused problems for the ATV riders on Saturday, and it caused problems as well for the motorcycle riders on Sunday. And I'll tell you, as we watch these highlights, you'll see what kind of changes it did transpire throughout the course of the race. Of course, big day for the 523 Ampro Yamaha rider of Lane Michael, a rider that really seemed to be on fire at the early part of the year, had some issues, injuries, kind of taken aback, and is getting back up to speed. And I think that maybe he might have showed folks where Lane Michael may have been, or at least that Lane Michael is on his way back, my friends, because he really laid it down there at the Mason-Dixon. For 4 solid laps, he had a very comfortable and solid lead, and then some issues, obviously, with the dusty conditions, lap traffic. Things started happening, and then a little mistake coming through the pits, clipped an inside pole corner marker, went down, lost even more time. So falling from a first-place position there through the first 4 laps, dropping off to a 5th-place spot by the time the day's end at lap number 6. A lot of folks are going to be keeping an eye on Lane Michael today, see if he can repeat that performance. On the other side of things, Caleb Russell capturing that 8th championship and his final championship, and, of course, having a strong run that day. Still a little injured with the knee from the race before at the Burr Oak GNCC when he crashed on lap number 2. So still a little bit tender even heading into this weekend. But the one thing that I do know is Caleb plans the race today, and we should be expecting to see him out there on that starting line for these final 2 rounds of his final championship campaign, even though it has been locked up. Now, the big story again this week, I guess might say, or that week, might say would have been the fact that Stu Baylor starting out in a 6th-place position, riding in that 6th-place position for the first couple of laps, then slowly started working his way up 4th to 5th place, or 5th place to 4th place, and then eventually on lap number 5 found himself in a unique and great position as he closed the gap on the riders, made the pass, and began to put the hammer down once again, enjoying about a 13-second lead over second-place ride Ben Kelly at the white flag. Whenever they came across the finish line, things had tightened up to just 1.8 seconds. And Kelly finishing up in the number 2 spot. Caleb Russell will take home the 3rd-place position from the Mason-Dixon GNCC, and it kind of sets the stage for what we've got going on here. A year ago, Ben Kelly took his first win in GNCC racing right here at the Ironman GNCC, and I know a lot of folks are wondering, especially with what we've seen out of Ben as of late, coming back from injury and watching him work his way back up to speed, whether or not he will be the man to have to beat here today. But also with the way Stu Baylor's been riding on that, that race-by-race Yamaha ride that he has acquired here late in the season and 3 consecutive wins in a row, you have to wonder, will he be able to make it 4 in a row? Those questions and more will be answered here today at the Ironman Raceway. But before we get into that, let's head on down and check in with our course conditions and course layout with Junior Trail Boss and co-course designer Jared Bolton.
And welcoming everyone along the World Wide Web at RacerTV.com as we are less than 30 seconds away. Shut them down, shut them down, shut them down, shut them down, folks, as we are about ready to go GNCC racing here. I got to ask you, though, folks, we got to get these guys warmed up. It's a cold day. We haven't even reached 50 degrees yet today, so I'm going to ask you, Indiana race fans, are you ready to go GNCC racing? Oh, come on now. I didn't even hear you guys that time, so I'm going to ask you one more time. I said it's a cold day. We're in Indiana. We are at the Ironman, folks. I'm going to ask you, are you ready to go GNCC racing? 10 seconds. And row number 1, the XC1 Pro, off and rolling at the Yamaha Racing Ironman GNCC. Rounding the first turn, now we go. It is Thad Duvall taking the early lead, the whole shot in this one. And he has the 514, looks like Stu Baylor right behind him now. So we go to the XC2 250 Pro class now. It is Ryder Lafferty, Sam Evans, Lyndon Snodgrass, Liam Draper, Brody Johnson, Michael Witkowski, Ben Parsons, Zach Trussell, Jesse Ansley, Craig DeLong, Benjamin Elko, Gage Pace, Cody Van Buskirk, Tanner Myers. 10 seconds. Jonathan Guerrero, also Jonathan Johnson and Cody Barnes. And they're on. Row 2, the XC2 250 Pro. And wow, the 342, Craig DeLong. Out of Morgantown, Pennsylvania, Rockstar Energy, Factory Husqvarna Racing, Carry Resource, and EKS brand backed rider, grabbing the early lead on that one as we go to row number 3 now. Seconds. FMF XC3 125 Pro-Am, Jason Raines, Michael DeLosa, Colt Converse, Jason Lipscomb, Chance Trigalut, and Zach Hayes. This one going to go to the 722. Zach Hayes from Sumter, South Carolina. Moose Racing, Coppersmith, and XC Gear backed ride. We got the Open A class. Cope Beckert, also Tyler Braniff, Alex Lugar, Chase Hayes, Nathan Rector, Dylan Dela Cruz. 10 seconds. Ezra Prine, Will Seivenpiper, Ethan Sauter, Riley Genero, Cole Grubb, Vincent Smith, Skylar Harkless, Justin Leonard, Chad Hartsick, Riley Johnson, William Wagner, Mike Bertel, Kenton Coleman, Noah Clark, Tanner Whipple, Josh Farrell, Mario Tonkov, also Jaden Walker, Nathan Nickel, and Riley Frankfurt. And it's the number 85 of Nathan Rector out of Rogersville, Missouri. Aboard a Marionville Power Sports Moose Racing Max's back ride, taking the early lead. Less than 30 to go now for our 250A bike class. Tristan Landrup, Logan Kittock, also Hudson Taylor, looking at Brendan Poling, Shane Sewell, Clay Harden, Josh Gentry. 10 seconds. Nick Karch, Connor Naheldy, Tanner Collins, Zachary Conrad, Jared Polly, Andrew Clark, Joseph Cunningham, Jonathan McDougall, Alex Tweeden, Adam Smet, Dakota DeFore, Kevin Hollerman, Bill Cavanaugh, Cody Am, and also Andrew Gross as we round the first turn into the second turn. It's the 486. It's Joe Cunningham. Aboard the Bonsai, Teely Energy, 6's Lawn Care backed ride, taking the early lead in this 258 class. 4-stroke A lights class coming up next. Kyle Whitmer, Trevor Getz, Tyler Palmer, Adam Hollenkamp, Zachary Johnson, Russell Smith, also Travis Renaud, Mitchell Owenby, Adam Parker, Samuel Hinkle. 10 seconds. Hayden Dillon, Lance Machino, Cannon Knuff, Michael Welburn, also Jamie French, Nathan Davis, Sam Hall, Josh Fender, Cody Mix, Preston Wheeler, Devin Jarrett, Ryan O'Mara, Jay Snopp, Cooper Jones, and Elliott Key. It's the 44, Cole Whitmer from Amity, Pennsylvania, on Ampro Yamaha Moose Racing Axis Tire pack ride, grabbing the early lead in this one as we get out of the 150 class. The 150A, Max Fernandez, Alex Metz, Eli Childers, Cole Kinsler, Andreas Paulo, also Braden Nolette, Hunter Smith, Lucas Holt, Dylan Hicks, and Lucas Grounds in 10 seconds. It's the 912 of Lightning, Lucas Grounds. Lightning strikes out of Martinsville, Indiana, on a Spikes Bike DQ Tune Grounds quality lawn care back ride. Senior A 40 plus coming up next. Shotgun Sean Remington, Smiling Frank Messina, Brent Belsel, Vinny Tomic, Miles Say. 10 seconds. Todd Thompson, Mike Grizzle, Eric Terrell, Bo Hamlet, Larry Sylvia, Gary Maynard, Joel Stoles, and Darren Darmos. Shotgun Sean Remington from New Salem, Pennsylvania. the Moose, Kenda, Factory Connection, Husqvarna. I believe he's also Coastal Racing backed rider as well. So we go to the Junior AB 25+ class. 10 seconds. Mark Simprini, Grant Marriott, Corey Day, Brady Stefanik, Austin Franklin, Trevor Floyd, Luke Brinkenoff, Taylor Mayers, Giancarlo Klauser, Jesse Kildo, Wiley Brownell, Cody Jeffers, and Andrew Boggs. 13 riders in the Junior AB class. 3:15, Grant Marriott from Ulster, Pennsylvania. Marriott Trucking, Factory Connection, and Moose Racing Riders sponsored. Off and rolling now, getting that early lead. Vet A 30+ class rolling next. Joe Marsh, Louis Oleon, Eric Stevenson, Nathan Allering, John Wagner, Travis Sewell. 10 seconds. Garrett Arthur, Samuel Armanette, Matt Harrington, Dylan Gnarl, Joshua Brown, Danny Haftel, Cameron Ishmael, Morgan Green, Daniel Barrett, Kyle Tangler, Brian Grarahan, also James Power, Matthew Van Dyke, Daniel Mitchell, John Condra, Matt Modick, Sammy Doris, and Scott Zont. Number 450, crossing the stripe first is Danny Haftel from Verona, Pennsylvania. Lojax, FXR, and Flow Motorsports sponsored rider. 150B class, Peyton Gwynn, Trenton Wood, Braden Claycomb, Toby Cleveland, also Steele Reeves, Jacob Taylor, Austin Metz, Blake Kohler, Cindy Tatera, and Kyle Dutton in 10 seconds. Off and rolling. That's the B class. Coming up next, the Vet 30+ class. 33 riders in this one. 311 riders total this afternoon. Justin Didius, Cody Hosta, Kyle Johnson, Adam O'Dell, Jeremy Stowovi. 10 seconds. Michael Bowling, Matthew Adams, David Trinkle, Parker Fowler, Michael Davis, Joe Barr, Johnny Sharp, Tyler Click, also Jeremiah Taylor, Drake Fairfield, Shay Dixon, Andrew Rowland, Charles Becker, Brandon Cook, Jeremy Thompson, Brandon Ricks, Nathan Simmons, Chris Honeycutt, Nick Plank, Josh Lane, Joshua Webb, Ambrose Kolaski, Joseph Bidler, Brandon Thompson, and the 508 Shay Dixon out of East Peoria, Illinois, I believe, on a DeRisi Racing GBC Gold Speed back machine. Also Jimmy Johnson and Sam Pink. Ryan Tite also out there with us. Open B class coming up next. Got riders like Matt Swords, Zachariah Query, Nick Burkle, Dwight Douglas, also Trenton Matterson, Chris Wolf, Israel Arnold, Shane Goen. 10 seconds. Trent Sisson, Austin Mollett, Dylan Fleming, Cody Duluce, Gregory Tenney, Jordan Portuguese, Elijah Berryman, Michael Zeger, Easton Morgan, Lane Grubb, Lane Smith, Mason Pelfrey, Jimmy Winterbottom, Jacob Maynard, Nick Courtney, Anthony Blackburn, Levi Polar, Gavin Beard, and Todd Fletcher. The 460 grabbing their lead, Mason Pelfrey, also Bryce Scott, Kyle Poffenberger, Dawson Nixon, and Cody Fender, all on the track as well. So we go next to the Senior B class. 20 riders getting set to roll in the Senior B class. Gene Swidba, Adam Miller, Leon Whitaker, Ryan Frost, Joselton Ramos, Tim Healy, Mark LaBelle. 10 seconds. Britton Newsom, Matt Waddell, Michael Ashley, Corey Bradshaw, Mike Barney, Pete Emmy, Brett Maynard, Greg Gakey, Rick Liller, Shannon Hatfield, Scott Planty, Mike Horwath, and Warren Young. And here we go. 109, Gene Swidwa from Sarver, Pennsylvania. Just crosses the whole strike first. Not sure if he got that early lead or not. We go to the 4-stroke B lights class. Jesse Groves, Cody Mason, Austin Hovatter, Trevor Golden, Miles Gefkin, Jack Joy, Derek Levi Ward, Austin Williams, Christopher Eddy. 10 seconds. Lake Plowman, Jason Crawford, Garrett Mundy, Drew Calloway, Ty Turner, Alan Anderson, Hayden Schultz, Cody Reese, and TJ Fine. Drew Calloway out of Denver, North Carolina on a Mika Metals Mobius Motorex-backed Husqvarna. And our final row, if I'm not mistaken, the 250B class, getting set to roll next. 10 seconds. Warren Friend, Brad Russell, Jacob Lancaster, Wyatt Schumann, also Gage Watkins, Luke Sheffick, Hayden Smith, Matthew Gamachi, Rooney Lee, Aiden Griffiths, Joshua Connor, Kevin Pools, Ryan Richards, Carter Holzer, Kelby Getz, Braden Stevenson, Alec Kessling, Austin Adderman, Ross Warner, Ethan Dingle, Cody Bettis, Dylan Ramos, Cameron Madison. 358 was that? 368. Wyatt Sherman out of Rome, Pennsylvania, the Schumann Electric Northeast ATV back ride. Also Dakota Cunningham, Parker Todd, Cameron Madison on that line as well. Over 300 riders now traversing the trails of beautiful Indiana, and of course this 26th running of the Yamaha Racing Ironman GNCC. Stu Baylor got a second place position start out there just a few moments ago, and I know a lot of folks come wondering if he was going to be able to make it 4 in a row. Well, I'll tell you, Bad Thad Duvall might have something to say about that. Stick around to find out what's going to happen as GNCC Live continues next.
When you crave the canyon passes, rocky trails, rutted tracks, the podiums and personal records, it becomes part of you. The choice now is, do you become a wanderer or the wanderer? You just need to ride where you belong.
Born of family values and a homegrown work ethic, Cometic Gaskets seals your machine so you can focus on the finish line. Cometic Gaskets are the competitive standard for racers who demand the very best. Cometic Gaskets are constructed from superior materials designed to perform in the most demanding environment. Whether it's championships on the line or a day in the dirt with friends, professionals and enthusiasts depend on Cometic. Cometic Gaskets, sealing championships since 1989.
It's hard to put our adventures on hold, but now is the perfect time to prepare for their return. Amsoil has your back with fast, free shipping, and ordering has never been easier. Just look up your vehicle, select your product, add an oil change to your cart, and check out. Spend $50 on Amsoil products and shipping is on us. Order now at amsoil.com.
Even when you're the best, you never stop striving to be better. With over 40 years of experience in motorcycle sales and service, we know racing. Our inventory of Yamaha motorcycles, sport bikes, dirt bikes, ATVs, and side-by-sides is extensive and constantly changing. Stop by LoJack Cycle Sales today in Tarentum, Pennsylvania, and visit our online inventory at www.lojacks.com. Yamaha YZs. It's why we ride.
Hi, my name is Andrea Lieb, the director of On Track School. How would you like to
National Cross Country is America's premier off-road motorcycle racing series. Riders compete on extended cross-country courses of 8 to 12 miles per lap and races lasting up to 3 hours. Up the mountains and through the trees, you'll find the best riders in GNCC. On MAV TV, Motorsports Network.
GNCC series on RacerTV.com is brought to you by MMI. Get there faster, smarter. Specialized turbo e-bikes. It's you, only faster. And by RockyMountainATVMC.com. Get ready.
And welcome back to GNCC Live. I'm Mikey Waynes. You've already heard from my colleague, Mr. Rodney Tomlin, down on the starting line with those iconic 10-second calls, often imitated, never duplicated. And I got to say, I got the chance to do that last round, not because I wanted to, not because it was my birthday, but I am pretty grateful and happy that Rodney is back for that, to say the least. Hey, this is round number 12 of the GNCC Racing Series, the Yamaha Racing Ironman, the race for the cure. Our pink race, if you will. Typically the last race of the season. Not the case this year, second to last race. To get us started, we're going to take a look at our specialized rapid replay of these starts. And we start with the XC2. XC1, by the way, was Thad Duvall. We're not able to get that replay up and running for you, but did want to let you know Thad Duvall, the Rockstar Husky, did grab that one. XC2 now, it was a little battle. Jockeying for position up front was Craig DeLong and Cody Barnes, and there he is. Craig DeLong snagging the whole shot. Craig, that win has eluded him the past few rounds, and boy, you talk about an absolute stacked class. The XC2 runs deep. You got to think there are several guys, certainly more than 5 of them out there, with the chance to win this one, with the ability to win this one, I should say. And taking a look at the Specialized XC3 start replay. The 125s. I know you can't hear them, but doggone, man, there's nothing that sounds as good as the 125s singing through the cornfields here at Ironman Raceway. And with a fantastic start, there he is on screen. You couldn't see him for a hot second, but there he is, Zach Hayes in the XC3 125 class, snagging the whole shot there. And Zach Hayes has been absolutely stellar in that XC class all season long. No doubt about that. He's got several wins. And what a season here in 2020 for him, no doubt about that. So there is a look at your Specialized rapid replay. And there you go. I believe this is at the bottom of our Twin Hills here, maybe. Folks, yeah, Ironman, man. That is what you call mud fleas. That is a term of endearment for those that may not know. I promise you it is. They wear it with a badge of honor. No doubt about that. So you take a look at the lines there, different line choices. And we were talking in the RacerTV booth a moment ago. It sounds like, now yesterday, ATV side of things, most of the riders were going up the left-hand side up Ironman Hill. Caleb Russell came through in the number 1 spot, and he went right up the one on the right-hand side of that hill, which, if he peeks around, you can see there. So Caleb Russell, that's I don't even know how to put it. That's the man line, no doubt about that. So it'll be interesting to see as these guys roll through. Now keep in mind, lap number 1 is a little bit abbreviated compared to what they will race in the rest of the 3 hours. So those lap times, when you see them, you might think, well, those are a little quick compared. Maybe they slow down lap 2. Not the case. In fact, they we'll get a better idea of what they'll be running on lap times after the second lap is completed. And with that said, if you're watching or looking at live scoring on the internet, Stu Baylor, the 514, checks in the number 1 spot. Get you some. By the way, on screen there, that is mile marker number 1. And there he is, right on cue. Stu Baylor out in front. Caleb Russell in the number 2 spot. Josh Strang, I believe, is in the number 3 position. And sure enough, there is Josh Strang, and then it should be the 523 of Lane Michael, and then Jordan Ashburn, when he checked in, was behind him. We'll see if the 127 Cowie pops through. And there you go, Ben Kelly, the 5:30. Thad Duvall, the 9:89, back out racing with us. And there's Grant Baylor in the number 8 spot. Thad Duvall making his comeback here late in the season, feeling out the getting reacclimated, I should say, to the 3-hour races here. So it'll be interesting to see how Stu Baylor does and what he's got for these guys. Matter of fact, Thad Duvall on the event T-shirt, by the way. If you're out there listening, snag yourself a Thad Duvall T-shirt, the 989. And by the way, a little toot the own horn. Since we are in Indiana, I'll give him a shout out. My good buddy David Quellen, who used to be a mechanic for Thad Duvall. Matter of fact, back at the ISDE, he is going to be wrenching for him at the last round of the season at the Buckwheat 100 in a couple of weeks. So joined in the booth now by Johnny Gallagher, a man that was very busy this morning. Johnny, you got the opportunity as we're watching, I think it was that Liam Draper just went by, yeah.
Yep, there's, looks like Andrew DeLong there. And, so Andrew's actually fallen back into the clutches of his brother Craig there. So Craig DeLong there up front in that XC2 Pro Lights class. And, man, this one's getting fast and furious early.
The XC2 is something, I started talking about a little bit. It's the only championship as far as the 3 classes that is yet to be decided. And I don't even know that it's going to be decided today. I think that's one that's probably going to take us into the last round of the season. And what does that say to you, how stacked the talent is in that XC2 class?
Stacked talent and close in, how they stack up with each other. You absolutely hit the nail on the head, Mikey. It's, those guys are flying, but they have picked up the pace so much that in these early laps, I don't know if we have the overall up. We do. So it looks like Lyndon Snodgrass leading the way in that one, 5th overall today. Not that that's anything to sneeze at, but in the last couple of races, we've seen those guys, Mike Wachowski, Johnny Gerard, up into the, top 2, top 3 overall, and within, striking distance, fractions of a second of leading the overall uncorrected time from that second row. But here we are, 1 mile into lap number 2. Again, I'm sure you guys have already mentioned, lap number 1 abbreviated. So much of the course that they're hitting right now, they are hitting for the very first time here, even though it is technically lap number 2. They did not run from the finish line, so basically, let's call it from the start of the lap. They did not run from there to just after the 3-mile marker, which is actually where the start loops in at. So, but look at that dirt. I mean, Mikey, to you, this is just normal, like you're from here, Indiana, great, it's dirt. No, this is hero dirt, ego dirt, coffee grinds, whatever you want to call it. I mean, this is what you want dirt to be if you are a motorcycle or an ATV racer. These guys, I guarantee you, they're all walking around just loving it.
It's funny, it's one of those things that I actually heard a local radio station out of Indianapolis when they talk about, they always have a couple Supercross riders on, and Supercross generally brings in dirt from the area that they're racing as well. So some of the Supercross guys were talking at Lucas Oil Stadium about how much they love Indiana soil. And you're right, I grew up here, I live here, so I kind of just take it for granted. But the thing that made me laugh this weekend, it was actually you and Becca were about to go track the course, and Becca said, "Oh, Mikey, you're out here enjoying the smell of corn." I can't even smell it. I mean, I'm immune to it. I didn't even know it had like a scent out there. But yeah, to the folks that aren't from around Indiana, I guess our corn smells funny. I don't know.
Yeah, I'll be honest. I did hear her say that. It looked like Stu Baylor and Caleb Russell up the FMF PowerPoint. Stu Baylor ahead of Caleb. Our camera's kind of, as you can see, cutting in and out, so a little hard. Hopefully you guys at home are not experiencing the same struggles, but nonetheless, we did see Caleb Russell, Stu Baylor through there. We know those guys are both running up front early here in XC1 and the overall. Obviously, Stu was leading the way, Caleb Russell second, Josh Strang third, Lane Michael fourth, and we think that is still how they're running. We've got no updates to the contrary just yet, but Mikey, to answer your question, I don't smell corn.
Okay,
so good. I don't know what she was referring. Rodney,
maybe it was
chime in on us. Do you smell the corn?
No. That's not corn that she was smelling.
Oh, well, I don't know then. I got no idea.
Maybe it's just farming.
That's probably it. I smell of agriculture.
She's just hypersensitive.
Twin Hills up there again. Stu Baylor starting to stretch it out a little bit over Caleb Russell.
Oh, there he is. There's Caleb behind him. Now, question for you, Johnny. I guess we missed it because of the abbreviated lap number 1. We missed them coming through on live TV, but they were telling me in the RacerTV trailer that Caleb took that far right line up Ironman Hill. The rest of the guys, I don't know if the rest of them did it, I didn't see, but I think on ATV side, you guys took one of the left lines or the center line there. What is the strategy behind that? Because maybe folks at home watching, they're like, what's the difference?
So essentially, you've got 3 main options when you come out of the creek. Well, if you're wanting to go fast. If you take a far left and go all the way around, that is the safe line, which is still nothing to shake a stick at. It's a pretty steep hill, but this is actually the Twin Hills. But on Ironman Hill, which I'll be coming up to here in just a little bit, when you come out of the creek, if you go directly straight and just bear a little bit right, that is the most straight uphill in terms of the shortest distance, but it's got a pretty vertical rock face in it. I think I went up that once. It wasn't that it was difficult. I just knew the margin for error wasn't very large, and honestly, the only one I was battling with yesterday was myself, so a few milliseconds didn't make a difference for me. But it is enough to make a pass if somebody takes that further left line. Stu Baylor out here in the cornfields of Indiana, of Crawfordsville. Blew that turn a little bit because this is where it changes up from the morning race. Caleb Russell able to hit the rut, so that'll be maybe pulling back a few milliseconds there. But man, these guys, I'll tell you what, guys, I'm going to say it right now. This is the fastest pace we've seen on a first lap for these guys. We've seen a lot of trail riding lately. We've seen you know, these guys kind of just flying in formation, feeling each other out. These guys are sprinting right now.
Well, you take a look at the factors we've got. We've got Stu Baylor coming into this one with 3 consecutive wins. Obviously, Thad's just coming back off injury, so he's wanting to make stake some claims. I know he's lost a little bit of ground back there and things, but you know, he's going to be trying to make some things happen out there today. Caleb, even though he's been injured, you know, he's been healing up a little bit. He wants to go out with some winning ways, and as good of friends as he and Stu Baylor are, he don't want to see him get 4 or maybe 5 race wins in a row at the end of the season like that. So he's going to be out trying to make things happen. And then you've got Josh Strang, who there's just a whole new life about this guy, man. I mean, just phenomenal rides that we've been seeing out of him as of lately. It's almost as if it's a rejuvenated Josh Strang, and I'm really enjoying watching what we're seeing the 114 do here today. Lane Michaels, same thing. I mean, that kid, just phenomenal what he's been able to achieve. And, you know, we may have seen glimpses of that before the injury, and we just didn't get a chance to recognize it. I know that we were pumping him up, and we were expecting and hoping great things out of him, but that Burble bust so soon that we kind of lost track of what was going on there until we got to see him a couple of weeks ago when he led so strongly for those first 4 laps of that race.
Yeah, and you know, like you said, Rodney, I mean, I think if there's anybody in this lead pack or even in this XC1 class who kind of feels like they might have something to prove today, you know, Stu Baylor winning 3 races in a row, you know, he's kind of made his statement at this point. Of course he wants to win today, he wants to further the statement, but Lane Michael led so much of our last round at the Mason-Dixon, only to have an unfortunate crash. He had already lost the lead, but while still running second, had a crash that allowed Caleb Russell and Ben Kelly around, and he ended up in that 4th place spot, or maybe he was even 5th for the day. I think he did end up 4th.
I think you're right. I think
but he went down right in the pro pits there, and you know, he's just got to feel like he left so many opportunities on the table there, and you know, here he is, right in touch with the leaders. Basically, folks, what you're watching on screen right now is the top 4. They've just started to creep away a little bit from the rest of the XC1 class. Not much distance between them. They can see each other in the corners. They can see each other in the fields. Stu Baylor out front. The next bike you see, the orange one there, that's Caleb Russell on the FMF Factory KTM, followed closely behind by Josh Strang on the 114 Babbitts. Oh, look at that outside line from Caleb Russell, missing the rut. And that's what we're going to see a lot of today, folks. And just behind Strang on that Kawasaki's Lane Michael on the Am Pro Yamaha. All those guys flying in formation. Guys, this track is rough.
Yeah.
We're going to see a lot of shifting around on the track, trying to find lines, not because they're faster, because it saves energy and it allows these guys the strength to go that 180 minutes.
You know, you mentioned the pace. One other couple of things I want to touch on that real quick is temperatures today are a lot cooler than what they have been well, since early in the spring, I think. So riders probably have that little bit of extra edge as far as that goes. And something else that I note, if you look, top 5 overall right now, in 5th place, Lyndon Snodgrass from that 250 Pro class. That right there is pretty interesting as well, because with the pace that we're watching these front 4 guys going at in the XC1 class, what kind of pace are the XC2 guys going at, trying to keep that up and actually being in the top 5 and 6 positions right now?
Well, that answers your question. These guys are actually jumping off of the ledge into the creek. I'm going to tell you right now, that's silliness. They're doing that for 1 second, maybe max gain, and they're completely drenching themselves in water. This is an absolute measuring contest right now. Who's got the biggest muscles? Like, one guy does it, the next guy does it, you know, and there is Thad Duvall, and I think there was another rider actually in between there that we may have missed, and that looks like Ben Kelly there. So we looks like our top 6, 7. There's Grant Baylor on that Factory 1 Sherco. Following closely behind him was another rider, couldn't tell who it was. But nonetheless, you know, like you said, it's normally the younger guys, the XC2 class, Rodney, those are the guys that sprint early.
Yeah.
But I'm telling you, this pace in the XC1 class right now, these top 4, which I think is why we're seeing even Lyndon Snodgrass, world-class sprint speed, only 5th overall after a lap. And we but typically we'll see the XC2 guys kind of fall a little bit down the order as the day goes on versus the first lap. So only to have him in the top 5 overall, that shows that these top 4 are they're flexing on each other right now. Each one of them wants to make a statement. Hey, boys, back of the bus. It's my day today.
And for sure. And back here at this Ironman Hill, noticing, Johnny, yesterday the water seemed to be a little deeper than what we've seen it in years past.
Yeah, absolutely. You know, it's really when you we just saw them. They're actually jumping off that rock ledge and into the creek. Here comes our XC2. We saw Johnny Girard go through, Craig DeLong, all those guys. When you come through, what's happened is everybody kind of idles into the creek and then gets hard on the throttle, and it just digs out that silt. It digs out those rocks. And actually, honestly, the far side of the creek, the exit side, the bank, was real chewed up by the end of the day yesterday.
Yeah.
And that was with 4 wheels and a bigger surface area. I'm telling you, the bike ruts are going to get bad coming out of there and leading up to Ironman Hill. And the more water that gets drug up that, the slicker the face of that gets and the wilder the ride gets.
And that's one thing that I was going to point out. With the deeper water, more water is going to be being moved. And those guys are coming and charging through that hard, so they are dragging a lot of water when they go up through there.
Absolutely. You know, and like I said, with them jumping off that rock ledge, their bikes are going to be dripping water all the way through there. Even just riding through, they're going to be just dragging water and dripping. There we see Stu Baylor again looking like he's starting to stretch it out just a little bit over the #1 FMF KTM of Caleb Russell. But there's Strang. And it looks, I tell you what, the one in this group that right now looks racy to me, guys, Lane Michael.
Yeah, Lane Michael is close right up on the rear fender of Josh Strang, it looks like, heading out of that small wood section and that small field section. We'll get a good look at what's going on here. I think there's about 5 seconds, so he's gained a second, or had gained a second. I don't know, maybe Caleb might be starting to reel him back in, but what happened to that? There it is. Lost the 4th place guy there for just a moment. They were a little tighter going into that wood section there just a moment ago.
Yeah, it looked like Lane had a run on him, and you know, we've talked so much about these guys trying to make a statement this long into the season. You know, a lot of these guys, with the exception of Caleb, who's obviously told us, you know, he won't be joining us in 2021. These other 3, you know, this is a jockeying for position, kind of a chess move for superiority.
Right. So that was going to be my question. So Stu Baylor comes into this when he's got 3 wins coming in. It would be an enormous confidence boost for him, and I think the measuring contest, if you will, if he can finish off the season, knock off 5 wins in a row, what does that do to guys like Thad Duvall, Trevor Bollinger when he comes back, and the rest of the Ricky Russell? I mean, to me, I would look at that. I would be a little intimidated.
Sure, absolutely. I mean, anybody that can click off 5 wins in a row at this level with this field of competition, there is reason for concern for their competition. You know, for to do 3, what he's done, you know, and people always want to put asterisks by things and say, well, you know, Caleb was just racing to wrap up a championship. Okay, well, he's done that now. Yeah. You know, we know Caleb maybe not at 100% with his knee. You know, Josh Strang recovering from an injury, but the bottom line, see, there is the penalty if you don't make it clean on that straight up side. He was fortunate enough to make it just far enough that the fans grabbed him and helped him the rest of the way. But in that situation, he would have actually been better off to go the far left line, even though it's, you know, literally maybe 1 second longer there, that line you see to the left. It's still straight up. It still goes the same place. It's just got a little hook at the top that brings you back to the track, where that middle line goes right straight up. You know, and it's, I tell you what, folks, GNCC Racing, you never question if there's fans at Ironman. Look at those people down there. And I saw the scenes from yesterday. I know there was many down there yesterday, but even today, you know, it's just wild to see. Here's Jason Raines, one of our XC3 riders, followed closely there by, that is Jason Lipscomb, another one of the XC2. Zach Hayes, it looked like, and JoJo Cunningham, one of our top amateurs. So these guys are, they're on it. I didn't even need to wonder which line JoJo Cunningham was going to pick. This kid is just full go all the time.
All the time.
Wow, it's hard to believe right now that we're only like 35 minutes into this race and the action that we've been able to see. I mean, the speeds, and, you know, my adrenaline is still pumping, you know, just from the intensity of watching these guys ride right now. I have to wonder, how long can they actually ride at this pace, man?
Well, here we're seeing it on screen. It looks like Stu Baylor and Caleb Russell starting to pull out just a little bit on Josh Strang. And this, guys, right now, this is a full moto pace. This is not picking lines and, you know, upshift and carrying speed. This is point to point, fast as you can go.
I don't think there's much losing anybody going on right now between those four. Those guys are still pretty tight together.
Oh, and look at this. It looks like now Jordan Ashburn has closed up just a little bit. So he's wanting to get his hat in the ring. And there is Thad Duvall still right there as well. So Ashburn was the one we couldn't make out on the hill. He's there in that 5th place spot, and Duvall in 6th. Still very much in touch, followed closely by Ben Kelly and Grant Baylor.
Man, Ashburn's one of those guys. I was talking about it during the AM race, kind of, you know, building up the afternoon race. I think he's got 3 4th place, a couple 5th place this year. A guy that I think at this point in the season is one to look out for to make a podium, because it's been just out of his grasp so many times. It'll be interesting to see if Ashburn can keep with these guys for the full 3 hours, maybe make his case for a top 3.
You know, and Jordan always has the speed, and especially early. It seems early on in the races, Jordan really is able to find his flow faster than some of the other competitors. Look at this. You want to talk a battle. Top 4, top 5 in XC2. Wheel to wheel to wheel to wheel. Leading the way right now, it is that man right there, the 178, Lyndon Snodgrass, followed closely by Johnny Gerard in 2nd, Mike Wachowski in 3rd, and Liam Draper in 4th. So the top 4, they're even closer than the top 4 in XC1.
That's nuts. Wow. I mean, to have a race like we've got going on with 2 classes battling the way that they are right now, unbelievable. I mean, this, you couldn't have scripted a better Ironman GNCC for the day. I mean, if you're a race fan, this is the race that you want to be at, or you certainly want to be tuned into, that's for sure.
And the crazy part, guys, about that XC2 battle is you've got 3 championship contenders in that battle in the top 5. They can all see each other. Craig DeLong just a little off the back right now, but they're in that 5th place spot. Man, so much more good racing action coming our way.
Stu Baylor, Caleb Russell, Josh Strang, Lane Michael back in the number 4 spot, and it is Jordan Ashburn rounding out the top 5 with right on his rear wheels the 989 of Bad Thad Duvall. Wow, how is this day going to unfold? I tell you, there's a lot of scenarios that we can certainly expect to happen, but the only way we're going to find out is to stick around. GNCC Live continues after this.
When you crave the canyon passes, rocky trails, rutted tracks, the podiums and personal records, it becomes part of you. The choice now is, do you become a wanderer or the wanderer? You just need to ride where you belong.
Born of family values and a homegrown work ethic, Cometic Gaskets seals your machine so you can focus on the finish line. Cometic Gaskets are the competitive standard for racers who demand the very best. Cometic Gaskets are constructed from superior materials designed to perform in the most demanding environment, whether it's championships on the line or a day in the dirt with friends. Professionals and enthusiasts depend on Cometic. Cometic Gaskets, sealing championships since 1989.
All right, we're here with Axel Hodges, and I didn't have a clue who this cat was. Everybody's asking me about Axel Hodges coming and doing a GNCC, so I looked him up. I typed in Axel Hodges. As I got halfway through, the first thing come up was Axel Hodges' girlfriend. Seems that she's more popular than you, so I figured I would put a little wager out here that if he made it 2 laps as a free ride background, I'll buy him a case of beer of his liking. So, what do you think? You think you got 2 laps in you?
Well, after I didn't really know what GNCC was, and then I Googled that and saw you just got to ride through some trees. So I think I got 2 laps in me. I just got to, if I don't get too bad of arm pump and don't hit too many trees, I think I got it handled.
All right, well, in my defense, we had a lot of rain in the forecast whenever I was making these wagers. Actually, no, obviously everybody knows who Axel Hodges is. Very decorated background, and you did come from racing, went to Loretta's and were able to compete there for a few years. So I think this track's definitely going to suit your style, but I was hoping for the mud holes so that I didn't have to buy a case of beer, but it looks like you better tell me right now what your flavor is.
I'm kind of a Coors Light guy. My popular girlfriend likes to drink those, so I get those a lot, and yeah, Coors lattes.
My guy, it's meant to be. That's all me. Silver bullets at the Mountains Art Blue. I'm not about it. Last night during the mullet competition, which you missed out on, Bush latte was the drink of choice. Around here, hair like yours is like perfect for the chiseled out lines, and I would imagine.
I got the Cali chisel.
Dude, if you took the top and the sides off of that thing, you would fit in Indiana like no other. So
I got 3 laps. We'll go mullet tomorrow.
All right, 3 laps. He's cutting a mullet in. I don't. It's like he's against himself here. But do I get to cut it in?
Yeah, if I get 3 laps, you can cut my mullet tomorrow.
I've got clippers. We'll figure this out. You heard it here first. So he's going to fit in with the Indiana crowd. I know you haven't been here long. What's your take on GNCC so far?
Well, I don't know. I've been here the first 5 minutes. I started hitting a jump, and everyone was lined up on the fence. They all looked pretty cool, screaming at me, and the fans seem sweet. So I'm looking forward tomorrow getting in the woods and seeing what the crowd does out there.
I would say with the hype that you've brought, you'll probably be the fan favorite. Whether you're making it 1 lap, 3 laps, stuck in a mud hole, I have a feeling that these guys are going to help you out. It's the talk of the town here in the pits. Actually, you're second behind your girlfriend that apparently didn't come. I was notified of this earlier. So apparently, if you would have brought her, you would have a lot more fans here.
Yeah, everyone was asking me why I didn't bring her, but I think I know better to bring her to something like this. So
she would see a mullet around here and she'd leave you fast.
Yeah, I don't know about that, but
all right, well, good luck tomorrow. I hope I do have to buy you a case of beer. It's awesome to have you out here, and hope to see you at another one.
Well, boys, we're not exactly sure how this one's going to pan out. Well, but Rodney's doing some searching.
Oh, you know what?
Oh, I can tell he's second in class. 4 laps completed and 22nd in the overall out of 961.
How many did he get overall?
22nd overall, I believe.
No kidding. Oh, my God.
From industry class.
Industry class results only list Zach Beverly and Kyle Dangler. It's like somebody, he must have went out and withdrew his name from the results or something. I don't want a mullet. Hey, he said it, man. Yeah. He gets a mullet and a case of beer the way I see it.
I'll tell you what, how fitting would that be on the podium if Axel's still around, if he hasn't left for the day yet?
We'll give him
if Stu Baylor finishes on the podium today and gets to give him that mullet cut.
That would be awesome. All right, we got a chance to see some nice high-flying tricks from Axel, and good to have him out here. You know, it might even loft his career, kind of like it did Zach Osborne's. You know what I mean? He came to the GNCC. Look what he was able to do after that.
That's right. Well, I don't know what more Axel could really accomplish in his genre of this sport. I mean, he's he's an icon, and I always some people take this as a bad thing, but I'm always impressed when people say, well, that's this guy. What does he do? And they have a hard time really explaining it. In my opinion, Axel Hodges is an entertainer. Yeah. He is. Don't get me wrong. He's an athlete. What he does with a dirt bike, the bike skills that he has are absolutely phenomenal. But he's an entertainer. He's a brand himself. He's built this around riding a dirt bike. He's built a lifestyle and a brand.
You think I think of obviously the other name that comes to mind is Pastrana, Travis Pastrana. And to me, if somebody out there, especially on a dirt bike, whatever the case may be, if they can make a living like those guys do, and they really rarely ever race the thing, there's something to be said about that. That's incredible.
Yeah, it is.
Stu Baylor on screen and on the Ironman motocross track. Backwards, but still on the Ironman motocross track. Hopping through the sand rollers there and looking good on that factory Yamaha, that Ampro Yamaha, in that pink moose gear, supporting the breast cancer today, breast cancer awareness. Caleb Russell is still there in second, it looks like. Still really close. And these guys, you know, it's still the same running order. It hasn't changed up at all. Looked like Lane was going to get a little racy and put some pressure on Strang, but looks like Strang answered back.
Well, wrapping up lap number 2, taking probably about 7 minutes longer than lap number 1 due to the position of the starting line in relation to the racetrack itself. So obviously we're going to see a real indication of what lap times are going to look like. 26:58, so just under the 27-minute mark as Stu Baylor checks in for lap number 2 complete here. He had a 3.6 second lead over Caleb Russell at the end of lap number 1. 4.1 at the end of lap number 2. Josh Strang is another 3.2 seconds back in third. Lane Michael 1.2 seconds back in fourth.
There you go. And now look there, Rodney. Duvall has gotten his way around Jordan Ashburn, and following them closely behind, Ben Kelly and Grant Baylor still there in formation.
Well, interestingly, 10 seconds behind, and if you look at lap times, 26:58.5, 6 for Thad Duvall, 26:58.75. So when you look at it, actually Thad Duvall was a little quicker on that lap, even trying to get around for that 5th place position. So you have to wonder, what more does Thad Duvall have as we roll into lap number 3 now?
Yeah, absolutely. And here is Stu Baylor still leading the way and looking like he's just smooth. He's hitting his lines, looking like he's got things dialed in here out here at the Monster Mile at the 1 mile marker. Caleb Russell, Josh Strang, Lane Michael, there's your top 4. We now know the next bike through our screen should be the 989 Rockstar Husqvarna of Thad Duvall, and there he is. Jordan Ashburn latching on, still going to go with him there, going to try and key off the speed that Thad obviously has. And I got to tell you, Rodney, obviously Thad came back and joined us at the last race for the first round. Everybody was excited to have him back. Ran in podium contention throughout much of the day and was right there even at the end. I was expecting a little bit bigger things out of Thad today. Not that wasn't a phenomenal ride for him, but I think it's like he realized, okay, I can do this. You know, the fitness is where it needs to be. Maybe we can work on a few things here and there. Speed's good. You know, the knee feels good. Everything. He didn't appear to have any major problems. And just like we saw with Josh Strang coming back, you know, at that Burr Oaks round from injury, you know, he kind of felt his legs out, figuratively, you know, felt things out, and then really kind of poured the coal to it at the next one, and led quite a bit, obviously, of our Mason Dixon, or it was in second, I'm sorry, and ultimately it seems like they're able to gain a little bit of confidence, and I think we might see Thad Duvall really interject himself into the battle for the win today.
Yeah, that's he's well within contention, only 10 seconds off the top 4 riders right now, and maybe even less than that, as he really seems to be riding maybe at just the quickest pace, maybe even a shade faster than what those front 4 guys are right now.
A little bit of shake-up in the XC2 top 5. We've got a new leader. Johnny Gerard has taken over the point position. He has taken that away from our leader, Landon Snodgrass. And also, Mike Wachowski has dropped from that 3rd spot back to 4th, moving Liam Draper up into the top 3. So shake-ups all around in that XC2 class. Running order in the top 4, at least, of the XC1 class, still remains the same.
Liam Draper celebrated his birthday yesterday, if I remember correctly, and well, he got himself at least one little birthday present, up to a 3rd place position now as he's around Witkowski. Craig DeLong, I didn't hear what happened to him, but I know he got a pretty good jump off the line, crossing that hole shot stripe first. He was looking pretty strong. Also, you know, one rider that I almost thought that Cody Barnes was going to get that hole shot. He was right there, and then all of a sudden, from out of nowhere comes Craig DeLong to just inch him out of that one, and a few other guys. But that was a pretty intense start on that 2nd row today.
I'll tell you what, Rodney, look at this gap in this XC2 class. We've had our top 6, maybe 7 come through there. It looks like Ryder Lafferty. Yeah, so I think we're back through, it looks like the top. Oh, there's Ryder Lafferty right there. So that is your 7th place rider just now coming through. And
Wow.
the top 5 are long gone. The whole time we were talking, it's crazy how much the speed has picked up in the top 5 in that XC2 class here on lap number 2. It's like all these guys know a championship's on the line. All these guys know that a podium's on the line. There's Jesse Ansley, the 328 Trail Jesters KTM rider, still running inside the top 10 in that XC2 Pro Lights class. And yeah, I mean, those guys are definitely wicking up the pace in that XC2 Pro Lights class.
And it looks like Brody Johnson has made the step up into the XC2 250 class this weekend, racing against his brother Jonathan there, it looks like. Brody has been top amateur at nearly every race or in top amateur contention throughout the 2020 season. Racing in the 258 class. Our leaders on screen here, I believe. Stu Baylor making his way up the FMF PowerPoint. And, you know, I know the Twin Hills and Ironman Hill have been notable hills, but it seems like there's a few more hills this year than in years past.
Yeah, this FMF PowerPoint is no joke. Actually, on the last lap yesterday, I actually just didn't get a good drive coming out of the water you see there at the bottom in that creek. And the face of it is just so slick. And those roots at the top that, you know, these guys are able to a little bit get to the edges, so it probably helps them out a bit. But man, it was like ice. It was to the point where the crowd was literally reaching out and like pushing me on the back to try and help me up the hill. I was moving, but just barely. It was that slow. But as you see, the top 5, 6, 7 now, just right up there, no problems at all on this FMF PowerPoint.
Looking back, I wanted to see some of those FMF XC3 125 Pro-Am riders, see how that class is breaking down. Lipscomb, Rains, we saw them going through. Now, didn't we see Rains in the number 1 spot earlier? So it looks like Lipscomb's got around him, so we've seen a little bit of a change there. Mike Delosa running at the number 3 spot. Zach Hayes is 4th. Colt Converse, the 447 machine, is 5th. And looks like Chance Trigolet is your 6th place rider there.
I'll tell you what, Rodney, we're watching at that 3-mile marker there, and as these guys come back the other way at the top of the Twin Hills, Stu Baylor has stretched it out just a little bit over Caleb Russell, and I'll tell you what that means to me. I think Stu Baylor, you know, we mentioned that these guys are all kind of sprinting, but it seemed like those gaps had stabilized, you know, and when I say stretched it out, he's not like he's got 15 or 20 seconds, but it's a couple bike lengths here and a couple bike lengths there. I really think Stu Baylor is really, really trying to make a break for it, and I think the next lap or so is going to tell us whether those boys behind him are just kind of letting him have just enough, you know, just enough rope to
hang himself.
Well, you know, it's like when you're fishing. Sometimes you let the fish have a little line, you know, you let him tire himself out, and then you reel him back in. Is that what they're doing? Or is Stu Baylor just proven to be too fast for these guys right now, and he's yanking away? Here we are in the fields, well, and and just as fast as it opened up, it looks like the gap closed back up. Caleb Russell's right back to where he was.
We're not even an hour into this race yet, Johnny. 53 minutes is all we're looking at into this race at this moment. So, and worked on 2 laps down. We're working on lap number 3 right now. You know, at some points we would be nearing the halfway point of this race with working on at least but we're going to still probably be at an hour and 10 minutes, maybe an hour and 12 minutes when they come in for lap number 3 complete, and we still got a ways to go before we reach that halfway point.
Interesting thing, they're coming into VP Fuels Pro Row right now. I see a lot of pit boards. How many of these guys are going to come in for a splash of gas and make it a 2-pit strategy, and how many of them are going to try and go? Are they going to just try and make a 2-pit or a 1-pit strategy and do 3 laps, which would basically make it a 6-lap race on 1 stop, or are they going to try and end up having to do 2 stops? So it looks like all of the AmPro guys went through, straight through. Stu and Lane both went through. Obviously, we can't see, but it doesn't look like anybody stopped on lap number 2. So it's seemingly most of these guys are going to be on a 1-pit strategy, because that would work out to be a 6-lap race. They're going to pit at the end of lap 3, and they all should have enough fuel. And I tell you what, guys, that's something we don't see often. Most times we see it's kind of a split, 50-50 between the guys that go 1 pit or 2, because they're always, you know, oh, and there we go. There's the answer. Grant Baylor is going to be on a 2-stop race. The 314 machine on that Factory 1 Sherco is, he did come in, grab some fuel, lost a little bit of time, but he'll be able to make that back up, but he will still have to pit one more time, Rodney.
And, you know, my question is, you know, I know yesterday Walker was in booth with us, and we were talking about fuel mileage and things like that. And Walker said that with the speeds that was being ran yesterday and with the conditions of the dirt, that it lended itself to a lot of fuel use. You had to use a lot of horsepower and things of that nature because you got such good traction. Everything was hooking up so well, and you got to go so fast, so it was eating up a lot of fuel. What about the two-wheel side of things? Because you're mentioning now a one pit stop race, where oftentimes recently we've seen a lot of 2 pit stop races from these guys. What's the difference out here in Indiana today that is going to keep these guys' fuel mileage a little better? Would the dust in the air that has been clogging up some of those machines and maybe causing the fuel mileage to go awry, not in the air today, might be an advantage for these guys to be able to go a little longer?
Definitely the dust could be part of it, but I think a lot of it that comes into why it's looking like the majority, with the exception of Grant Baylor, are going to be on a one-stop strategy, I really think comes down to the length of the race. It's, if you add it up right now and you start doing lap times, and that's exactly what these guys are doing, you know, this race, if it goes 6 laps, which, telling the way things are going, it looks to be. We're making early predictions. We don't make these decisions, folks. The people at home, just so you know, we're speculating and conjecturing. Oh, we've got riders down.
Yeah.
Folks, that was one of our leaders. That may have been Caleb Russell that connected with a lapped rider there and went down.
I wonder if we can get a replay on that. That would be interesting to see what might have happened there just a moment ago.
That is our Skycam there, our Yamaha Racing drone. I don't know if they can back that up and replay it, or if that's just a live feed and that's all we get. We'll have to check with our producer, Adam Gordon. But that was one of the leaders that went down with the lapped rider there. It was Caleb Russell. Caleb Russell went down with the lapped rider. I can see him there now, right in front of. So there's Stu Baylor. There's Caleb Russell. Just behind him, they go into the woods. Stu Baylor is the second bike you see. You see a lapped rider crash. Stu Baylor goes around the outside with no issue. Caleb turns and hits the lapped rider, flies off his bike, has to jump back up. Josh Strang sneaks around to the right-hand side and actually gets around Caleb Russell. Not a big crash. Doesn't look like anything would have been damaged. He just kind of tipped over trying to get out of the rut to get around that lapped rider.
Wow, so we got a change in positions now. Russell dropping back to the number 3 spot, Strang up to second place position. That's got to be a bit of fire, I think, for Josh Strang now, realizing he's around Russell, and he's going to have to start sprinting to try to keep that position, and that might bring him even closer to Stu. So this is going to get even more interesting, I think, over the next few miles in this lap.
It definitely is. And Rodney, that was not 10 seconds back to Thad Duvall. Lane Michael was at the top of the hill, and Thad Duvall was at the bottom.
Wow.
We're talking 3-4 seconds between those two right now. Thad Duvall is on a charge. He can now see that battle of Strang, Russell, and Michael in front of him, and not too far in front of them is the leader, Stu Baylor. So Thad Duvall very much in this one and can see the way this one is playing out. He has made up that, sometimes, you know, we talked about it, Rodney, 10 seconds doesn't seem like that much, but sometimes you can just, that 10 turns into 12, that 12 turns into 15. You feel like you're riding well, you feel like you're making time, you know that next pit board you see is going to tell you that you've made time, and next thing you know, that 10 seconds is 40. And it's just how it goes sometimes. So right now, Thad Duvall, to make up time racing those guys that he's not able to see quite so well, he's doing a great job of it right now. Stu Baylor on screen.
Wow, he's got some incentive, Duvall does now, as he sees the 4th place position right. But look at the gap is opened up, obviously, since Caleb Russell went down. Looks like Strang's still in that number 2 spot, and we could probably look back as far as maybe close to 8 seconds or so between the 1st and 2nd place position, maybe looking back as far as 10 at this particular point. But regardless, man, Stu Baylor is getting, I don't want to say getting things handed to him right now, but what is happening is it's making his effort a little bit easier, not having those guys on his rear wheel and amping him up and keeping something in his mind like that. Now he can just keep focused on what's going on, and that's the racetrack ahead of him right now. And something that, you know, we might want to take into account, and I realize that this racetrack may be a little longer. It is a 3-hour race, so this is another thing, but 311 riders on the starting line this afternoon and racing on this racetrack. You know, you guys saw it there on that last lap, that fifth lap, there became a lot more lap traffic. I think we could probably see that happen here today, especially with the extra number of riders that we have on the track, nearly double as what a lot of races that we have in this afternoon race. And with that being said, the 3-hour race, more riders on the racetrack, this could get really interesting for these riders up front.
Yeah, absolutely. You know, lap traffic is always it's always kind of a it's a guessing game. You know, you got to wonder, is this guy going to go left? Is he going to go right? Is he going to let me by? Do I need to pass him? So it's an additional obstacle on the course itself. And you know, like you said, with 311 riders out there, that's there's definitely a lot of riders out there. This morning, 961 in the 10 a.m. race. So that was a whole lot of riders.
Over 200 youth riders this morning.
Yeah, 200 youth riders. It was definitely a wild day. Stu Baylor, I tell you what, he's looking like. And Rodney, you were mentioning that. Just that little hiccup with Caleb Russell connecting with that lap rider or getting out of his rhythm trying to go around a lap rider and ultimately going down. You know, it's not those 2 or 3 seconds or 5 seconds that he would have lost that is detrimental. It's if Stu Baylor can use this as kind of a opportunity to sprint, to break those guys, to get away. They can't see the lines he's taken. They can't see the pace he's running. And they're forced to make a decision at that point to give him enough line and let him run, or they got to floor it and try to catch him. And a lot of times it's funny, 3 hours of racing, and after the race, you'll talk to these guys and say, you know, it really came down to this one mistake. I stalled, or I didn't quite make this hill clean. And you're thinking, man, how in 3 hours of racing can it come down to just a couple seconds? And then the gap ends up being far larger than that. But sometimes that's the catalyst. That's the moment that makes it all happen.
Yeah, that's what starts the snowball, if you will, that builds in situations and circumstances like that. But watching these riders again, you know, we're getting very great shots from this Yamaha Racing Skycam today, as fall is certainly giving us less and less foliage on the tree. We still got a lot of great colors out there with all the rain and the wind that we had. You know, Walker Fowler mentioned it yesterday. I can't believe how many leaves are still on the trees out there, but they are starting to thin out, and we're getting some really good looks at what's taking place as far as these battles are concerned. So if you're tuning in to RacerTV.com today, you got to be pretty excited about what you are witnessing, I think, here today.
Absolutely, and what you're witnessing right now is Stu Baylor on screen from our Yamaha Racing Skycam, and he is stretching it out little by little, inch by inch, second by second. We won't have an exact split. Obviously, we'll try to get as close as we can with the split here. When we have the opportunity, we will know it down to the millisecond when they come through scoring and the riders' transponders ring in. But right now, there he is, folks. Stu Baylor on screen. And there he is on screen again at the top of the Monster Mile. And, man, and Rodney, there's that lap traffic you were talking about. They're only on lap number 3. And they're, look at that is just full aggression, Rodney.
Man, that's total commitment, and that's total control right now. I mean, a lot of people can't do that. Wouldn't be able to do that.
Caleb Russell stopping and relaying a message to his crew, so he may have an issue of some kind there. Yeah. He came nearly to a complete stop and made sure to pass a message along to his crew. So, folks, we might see some additional pit action here this lap when Caleb Russell comes in. Could be something simple that they're just going to make an adjustment during the fuel stop. But there could be an issue. Yeah,
we saw him go down there. We see him hit with that lap rider. His bike went down. It could be a number of things on that fall. No, it wasn't a hard, high-speed crash. It wasn't anything like that. But what it was a crash. The bike hit the ground. Parts can break away. There's no telling what it could have hit down there. It could be a broken clutch lever, or it could be a number of different things. It could be maybe nothing other than put me a little extra water in my Camelback. You know,
it could be, hey. Oh.
Hey, sounds like Mikey Waynes is out and about and getting plenty of things going on. So let's check in with what's going on with Mikey Waynes down in the pits.
Hey, thanks, Rodney. Down here with Rachel Archer. Rachel Archer actually picked up the win today for the Ampro Yamaha team in the WXC amongst 961 riders. You come in, you take the win, you wheelie to celebrate, and then I come over after the race. You got the foot wrapped up. It's broken. We did the podium interview while we're sitting on the box, man. Tell us, Rachel Archer, what the heck happened out there today?
Well, I was having a really good race until the last lap. I collided with a lapper. He stopped in the middle of the track, and I just landed on top of him and crushed my foot between the swing arm and my foot peg. But yeah, adrenaline got me through to the finish. And then I took my boot off at the end, and it was like super sore, and it's even more sore now. So.
Well, talk to us a little bit. We'll be quick for you. You've raced a lot of GNCCs to this point. How does Ironman differ from the rest of the GNCC season with that many people?
It was so many many people out there today. I've never seen so, like I started catching people at the end of the first lap. They were still letting people go off the start line when I came around for the end of my first lap. And yeah, it was just, I'm surprised. I probably used a lot more gas because I was just on the limiter everywhere.
Well, Rachel, congratulations on the win. Please heal up quick. We love the deep competition going on in the WXC. Thanks, Rachel. We'll send it back to you guys.
All righty, thanks a lot, Mikey. Stu Baylor continuing to lead out here in a tough break there. You can tell that, man, that's not what she was wanting to happen with the momentum that she's got going on right there. But, well, I'll tell you what, folks, this stage is set, no doubt about it, for a great race here today. We haven't even hit the halfway point, just a little over an hour out. 7 minutes or so before they check in for lap number 3 complete. It's Baylor, Strang, Russell 1, 2, and 3, Lane Michael in 4th, Bad Thad Duval in 5th. Stick around, more from the Ironman GNCC after this.
It's hard to put our adventures on hold. But now is the perfect time to prepare for their return. Amsoil has your back with fast, free shipping, and ordering has never been easier. Just look up your vehicle, select your product, add an oil change to your cart, and check out. Spend $50 on Amsoil products, and shipping is on us. Order now at amsoil.com.
Even when you're the best, you never stop striving to be better. With over 40 years of experience in motorcycle sales and service, we know racing. Our inventory of Yamaha motorcycles, sport bikes, dirt bikes, ATVs, and side-by-sides is extensive and constantly changing. Stop by LoJack Cycle Sales today in Tarentum, Pennsylvania, and visit our online inventory at www.lojacks.com. Yamaha YZs. It's why we ride.
Hi, my name is Andrea Lieb, the director of On Track School. How would you like to go to a school where we take into consideration how students learn best? Well, we do that because we find if we can build the curriculum around the things you are interested in, you're going to do a better job. The mission at On Track School is that educational success is possible while chasing your dreams. Not only will our staff help students to achieve success, they will cheer you on to the finish line. We encourage you to check out On Track School at ontrackschool.com, where we can help you chase your dreams and still get a quality education.
Hey, I'm Corey McDonald with the Ampro Yamaha team, and I'm Lane Michael's mechanic. Well, I raced for 17 years. I won a couple local pro championships. I was a top amateur in the GNCCs. Unfortunately, in 2011, I had a crash at the Big Buck GNCC and cracked a vertebrae, actually shattered my vertebrae, and that put me out. I ended up getting hooked in with Randy Hawkins. I lived close to him. I knew him my whole life, and it went from there. My dad, he was always mechanically inclined. He taught me at a young age, and I had really good teachers growing up inside the race shop, and I just took that and perfected it, and here I am 10 years later. Well, being a mechanic and then starting off as a racer, you just kind of know how the bike works in the conditions that they're in. There's a lot of different things, different setups, you know, a lot of different terrains in the GNCC series, so as a racer, I can take that from my past and I can see what we're going to have to work on or you know, go forward with a little bit of modification just to prep for those races. And that helps out a lot, and just knowing the intensity of the sport and how it is. You know, I've done both, and I always, you know, tell my riders, you guys think it's stressful being a racer. It's definitely, it is a little bit stressful, but being a mechanic, it's unbelievable. You know, being on both sides, as a racer, your job is to take off and go as fast as you can, you know, make good line selections and go for the win. Being a mechanic, you know, there's a lot more pressure. You know, your bike set up, make sure your bike is tuned right, everything has to be right in check. You have fuel mileage, you have lap times, you got to put all that in together, and it definitely gets a whole lot more stressful as a mechanic.
is America's premier off-road motorcycle racing series. Riders compete on extended cross-country courses of 8 to 12 miles per lap and races lasting up to 3 hours. Up the mountains and through the trees, you'll find the best riders in GNCC. On MAV TV, Motorsports Network.
Absolutely unreal. This is a huge step for myself and my racing career, and I've got to thank you, John, and Auntie, and all you guys, all you fans and racers. If it wasn't for you guys being here and supporting GNCC and the racing, none of this would ever be possible for any pro rider.
That's his right there.
Well, I'll tell you, a brand new Caleb Russell Edition 350 was unveiled last night here at the Ironman, and that is a 2021 model. Same triple clamp, same basic setup that Caleb Russell runs. You can go buy off the showroom floor. A pretty spectacular thing. I think one of the biggest things that I think I've ever seen KTM do for any rider out there. I mean, to give them their own special edition motorcycle. I mean, it's based on the model that Caleb Russell races today and is racing right here today that you can go buy in 2020 for the 2021 season.
Yeah, very cool. You know, it's Caleb obviously has dedicated his life to this sport and his life to KTM, and for them to repay him back and show them their appreciation for what he has done, his efforts to promote their brand, that's a pretty cool thing for sure.
Well, welcome back to Crawfordsville, Indiana, the Shaver Family Farm. We call it 25 years in the 26th running of this Yamaha Racing Ironman GNCC, our pink race, as we help out with the folks in the Montgomery County area. Breast Cancer Awareness Month, of course, is October, and we take this as our pink race, and man, it has been an amazing weekend as far as the pink goes. I do want to point out, if you haven't noticed, and I know we haven't had a chance to see much of Andrew DeLong today from the Phoenix Racing Honda. I was talking with some team folks over there. They are running the gray backgrounds this weekend and the gray colors, and they said not to take away from breast cancer awareness, but they also want to bring awareness to brain cancer. So they're kind of doing a double dip there, if you will. So our hats off and saluting Phoenix Racing for stepping up and helping bring awareness to brain cancer.
Absolutely. There's so many things out there, so many causes people fight for, so certainly each has the ability to promote and expose their own cause. And but, you know, what we're seeing on screen so far this last hour and 12 minutes is one cause, and that cause is win the race. And you've got about 5 guys now that have thrown their hat. Look at this. There is Stu Baylor on the Ironman MX Moto track.
All right.
He's leading the way.
26:58.7 last time around for Stu Baylor, and of course the front four were very close together when they came around for the conclusion of lap number 2. As we approach the end of lap number 3, a little bit of a change back there as the gap has opened up a little bit. Caleb Russell going down after making contact with a down lapped rider on the race course, losing a few seconds, and the position of second place to Josh Strang for just a few moments. We'll see how that has changed things up a little bit as Stu Baylor makes his way through the finish line chicanes here and getting set to cross that finish line for lap number 3 complete here in the soils of Indiana. He looks down, still riding aggressively, but has a little bit of breathing room right there. 26:58 on lap 2. Lap number 3, a 27:20. 27:18 for Josh Strang. Strang actually a little bit faster and has pulled within now 5 seconds of Stu Baylor. Actually, the man on the move right now, obviously, is Josh Strang. And, of course, we're getting some intel over the intercom right now. It sounds like, well, what your speculations may have been true. There could be a little bit of an issue after that little get off there.
Yeah, it sounds like at the finish line, we're getting some feedback that at the 3-mile marker, or just after the 3, is where the pro pits are. So it'll be a few minutes till we see him there. But KTM is prepping some parts for Caleb Russell's machine. It looks like he has done some damage. You can see right there is a hydraulic it clutch assembly. It looks like they've got some levers out there, and we were told that there was a pit board out that said radiator ? And Caleb shrugged his shoulders. So that's got to be a hard hit if they're thinking he may have damaged that radiator on the machine. Now, keep in mind, folks, that could be completely not related to that crash. That could be something to where, after off screen, we see it looks like the handguard and everything is still there. So I don't know exactly if it's what it is that they're changing, and he's still running at a very good pace for having a damaged motorcycle. So we can speculate, but ultimately we're not going to know here for probably about another 6 or 7 minutes till they make it to VP Fuels Pro Row. And I tell you what, another thing that's interesting, Thad Duvall had put in that great charge right up to the rear of Lane Michael, and he's actually lost a little bit of ground.
Yeah, he dropped to a 27.34, so he must have gotten some sort of an issue or something himself out there, as we see that gap that was down to probably about 5 seconds, now almost 12 seconds between the 4th and 5th place ride.
And the 7th place ride of Ben Kelly has now worked his way up right onto the rear wheel of Jordan Ashburn for that 6th place spot. So your top 7 through here at the 1 mile marker at the Monster Mile, and here we see Grant Baylor now. So there is your 8th place rider in XC1. We should soon see our XC2 riders coming through here.
Interesting note for us here. We see that our top XC2 rider is checked in now. Lyndon Snodgrass still leading that one out there. They have dropped from 5th place position overall to 9th place position that they're battling for in that XC2 class. Johnny G back there in the number 10 spot overall, which puts him 2nd in class. Liam Draper also still right there. Those guys are within about 3/4. Actually, the top 4 are within 5 seconds of each other right now.
Well, there you go. And Rodney, we were just talking about that, how absolutely feverish this battle is within that XC2 class.
Cody Barnes, Andrew DeLong in the back there in the 14th and 15th place position. So I mean, these guys, they're still nose to tail. This battle still is as intense as it ever was.
Still as intense a battle, but like you said, and there is Lyndon Snodgrass back into the lead in that XC2 Pro Lights class. Right behind him, we believe, and there he is, the 969 of Johnny Gerard. There is the 198 of Liam Draper, and on cue, the 282 of Mike Wachowski. There it is, folks. Your top 4. Whoa, sorry, make that 5.
Top 5.
Craig DeLong, the number 342 Rockstar Energy KTM. Rockstar Energy Husqvarna, as we see a lapped rider go down there. So it looks like they have broken away. There's a good bit of a gap back to Cody Barnes, factory beta rider. But he is still there in that 6th place spot. So the top 5 basically all within sight of each other out on the track.
Actually,
in that XC2
Ryder Lafferty, I think, has moved up into that behind Andrew DeLong now on the number 19. So we did see a little bit of a change going on there, it looks like. Actually, I'm sorry, Cody Barnes behind Ryder Lafferty is now behind Cody Barnes. I'm sorry.
Oh, there you go. So a little bit of a shake-up out on the track, and there is Andrew DeLong. Like you said, a little bit different color background on those machines today. The number 410 Phoenix Racing Honda, and Andrew DeLong out there. That is your 9th place rider in that XC1 class. So you've got your top 9 through in XC1 and your top 5 through in XC2. Cody Barnes, your 6th place rider in XC2, and there he is. So I don't think we saw Ryder Lafferty come through there unless we missed him. So they may have shaken it out yet again. Looks like those two may have had a back and forth battle going.
Yeah, according to timing and scoring when they came through, it was Snodgrass had 1.2 seconds over Gerard. Liam Draper was another 3.4 seconds back, and then it was Mike Wachowski back in the number 4 spot, only another second back.
Oh, look at that. There was one of those close calls with the lapper, Rodney. And did Stu Baylor still make the hill? He did, but just barely. He actually had to switch his lineup right at the base of the FMF PowerPoint. He came in, had good momentum. A lapper moved over on him, took his line away. There is Caleb Russell. Did we lose Josh Strang? I did not see Josh Strang come through.
I didn't see him either.
Now, again, there's enough lines there that he may have taken another line.
There's a lot of lines, and with all the lap traffic out there.
It was possibly when the camera was panning back. There is Thad Duvall, and look, he's lost more ground on Lane Michael.
Wow. So interesting things going on here. Wow, I mean, the lap traffic right now is so deep. I mean, I was expecting this, but I didn't really realize that it was going to be the spectacle that it is right now. All right, we might have a look here to see if there goes Stu Baylor by now. We're going to see if we can't see if the 114 of Josh Strang might. Yeah, that's Strang right there.
That's Strang right there. So Strang went around the outside on the 114 Babbitt's Online Monster Energy Kawasaki. He took that longer, slower line and still almost made the pass because Stu had such a struggle with those lapped riders, and there he is still, and you can see they are thick into the lappers right now.
I mean, this is probably as bad or worse than maybe some last lap races are, to be honest with you right now.
Yeah, I think what'll happen though is as this race goes on, I think the lappers are going to get even more strung out. They're going to get a little slower, and it's going to get easier to pass these guys. You know, with 300 riders on the track is a lot, but it's not an insurmountable amount. You know, it's not nearly as congested as this morning's race was. But again, you know, these guys are traveling at a high rate of speed, picking lines, you know, hundreds of yards out, and if all of a sudden you turn a corner and there's a lapper in your line, you got to make those changes, and it can cost you a second here or a second there, and in some cases more. Yamaha Racing Skycam coming through with the shots. Stu Baylor in the trees there, and again, just an absolute beautiful scenery here. We're looking at some beautiful colors. Stu Baylor making a pass on 2 more lappers. You know he's revving that Ampro Yamaha YZ450 out and making plenty of noise to let those guys know he's coming.
You know, the thing about it is, it's not like they're passing one at a time, or they're passing 2, 3, 4, 5 guys are trying to get through at one time, and it's not like that a couple of times a lap. It's like that a few times a mile on these guys right now.
Yeah, absolutely. You know, it's that's some of these races are like that. I mean, we have that on Saturdays sometimes where, you know, it's not even necessarily that there's that many riders on the track. It's just that they seem to be spaced terribly, and you hit them all at the same time. And there, Rodney, I don't know if you heard that, but coming into the RacerTV studio and coming into VP Fuels Pro Row, it was nothing but rev limiter, and it was the 514 of Stu Baylor just absolutely wringing that thing's neck to let the lappers know he's coming.
Oh, I'm sure.
Goggles off, and he's into VP Fuels Pro Row. Means he's definitely stopping, going to get some fresh goggles, get some fuel. We should see all these guys stop this lap, Rodney.
So Stu Baylor in an MMI pit stop in the VP Fuels Pro Row right now. Fresh pair of goggles, full tank of gas, it looks like. Took him, seemed like a while. It seemed like a lot of fuel went down into that thing.
That was a long pit stop for Stu Baylor. Not sure what was going on there. If it was just, you know, they wanted to really make sure that thing was full. Lane Michael also in the pits, and looking like he is going to be out a little bit quicker. Caleb Russell on screen. They're doing some things. He's got the T-handle himself, and he's making some adjustments. He is obviously knocked something out of whack just enough that he's decided it needs to be adjusted. But just a few extra seconds, nothing too crazy.
Hey, man, I guess that's what riding the ISDE will do for you, huh?
Yeah, sometimes it's easier. And in all honesty, I mean, sometimes it is easier to just do it yourself rather than try to explain to the crew what it is that you need to have done.
Right.
So I don't know that those guys are quite that far in there. I think those might be, maybe that is our leaders there on screen. We see Ben Kelly now in VP Fuels Pro Row with the MMI pit stop. And Kelly still in VP Fuels Pro Row and looking like he had made the pass on Jordan Ashburn last week. Don't know if he was able to make that stick, but we're seeing here out in, is that?
Yep. Yeah. Let's check in with Mikey Waynes real quick. Sounds like he might have an update from the pit.
Hey guys, just you may have this on screen by now, but as Caleb Russell was pitting, the 989 Rockstar Energy Husqvarna made up a little bit of ground and was probably only a few seconds off that pace of Caleb Russell as they exited the Auxiliary Pro pits.
Wow, interesting there for him. Lane Michael, did that get around Lane Michael during that pit stop?
No. Lane was in before him, so Lane got past him and around.
Okay, good. All right, so our running order, Mikey, leaving the pits, did we see any changes in positions?
I didn't catch any. It looked like Grant Baylor got through here pretty quick, but if I remember right, I think he pitted last lap or maybe even the one before at the Sherco, so that might have given Grant a little advantage here to make up some ground.
Rodney, new leader. After the pit stops, Josh Strang leading the way on the number 114 Monster Energy Babbitt's Kawasaki, hot in pursuit, the 514 of Stu Baylor. So we were right. That pit stop just did take a little bit extra time, and Strang was able to grab the lead. Those were your leaders, 1 and 2 on screen.
XC2 battle, Craig DeLong and Mike Wachowski all over his rear wheel outside of Pro Pits.
Wow, so things heating up there too. So yeah, I don't know. I mean, it just seemed like that quick fill was in that tank for a long time, whether they were putting extra gas in it or whether it didn't start flowing the way that it was supposed to. I don't know, but just a few extra seconds, it seemed like eternity, and I can only imagine what it felt like for Stu.
Yeah, I mean, he had a pretty solid lead, maybe 4 or 5 seconds coming into the pits, and to lose the lead, definitely not ideal, but at the same time, you have to look at the grand scheme of things here. This is a 3-hour race. Stu Baylor still in touch with the leader, can see him right there in front of him, and to make the mistake or the miscalculation to pull that can just a few ounces early could be the difference, because we do know, there they are on screen, there's your leader, Josh Strang, second place Stu Baylor, both of them straight up the main line hill there at Ironman Hill with no issues whatsoever.
I tell you, it's good to see Josh Strang riding with this fire. It's a rekindled fire. I mean, you could say he's coming back around. No, this is a rekindled fire.
Lane Michael just about cleared the creek that time. He hit that rock drop so hard, and now Thad Duvall has gotten around Caleb Russell, so that answers that question. Duvall around Russell, and we'll see just how far back is the #1 FMF Red Bull KTM of Caleb Russell after making those adjustments in the pits. It looks like he's lost a good bit of time. He is now not even in touch with the top 4 there.
Wow. He still hasn't come through, huh?
No, he is not.
That's that's a lot longer than it took, it seems like, for him.
Grant Baylor.
Wow.
Did we lose Caleb Russell?
Well,
or did we miss him? He could have been one of those.
We may have missed him, but the one thing to point out, Grant did not pit this time around, so he was able to make a little bit of ground up on these guys after pitting the lap before.
Oh, boy.
Uh-oh.
Andrew DeLong in the Phoenix Honda pits.
And he got his hands full here in the 2020 season. He can't buy a break, it doesn't seem like. He's always got some sort of, and it always seems to be down there in that lower region right there, in that back wheel and that chain.
Brake issues, foot pegs. It's just been one thing after another for that guy and that team this year. It's unfortunate.
And it seems to be isolated down in that area. You have to wonder, is it Ryder the Ryder just pushing the machine that strong? Is it the way he rides it, or is it?
Yeah, I know at the one race he did. I believe he severed a foot peg bolt, which that's from impact. But the brake issues earlier in the year, that was just race after race. They literally just would stop working. They'd put a different system on, and that one would sometimes work. It's so many. I'm sure they'll get it figured out. It's frustrating when you're in that position as a team and as a rider. And nobody ever really talks about that. You talk about the days where people are holding up championship plates and #1 plates and wins, and but sometimes you just got to struggle through those rough races and make those on-the-fly adjustments. He was in and out quick, so he's still within the top 10, still putting up a good charge and a good day for him, and still could bring it home for some valuable points today. There we see your leaders. Josh Strang still leading the way. Stu Baylor actually falling back just a few bike lengths. Nothing to be concerned about if you're part of Blue Stu, the Blue Stu Blue Crew. He's still within sight, still right there on, now there he is pretty much right back to the rear wheel. That is Strang on the top of the shot. Stu Baylor coming in just below him, and that is 1 and 2 in the XC1 class and overall as they run right now here at the Ironman GNCC. Hour and 27 minutes into this one, and these guys are separated by about, that far.
Man, the measuring contest is not over.
No, there is still, but they've had a few contestants seemingly drop out, at least for now. Right now, we're down to 2 in the contest. Not saying that those other guys couldn't get back up in there and still vie for a win here, but as of right now, Josh Strang, Stu Baylor, they have kind of separated themselves from the other contenders, at least for the moment.
Wow. So watching this one continue to unfold, you wonder where we are. We talked about it a half hour ago, or a little more than a half hour ago, that we weren't even at the halfway point. Right now we're reaching the 1 hour and 28.5 minute mark. So with that being said, we still got a long road to hoe here, Johnny, and man, still lots of racing ahead with Josh Strang and Stu Baylor out front like this. This is going to get pretty interesting. But how about for Lane Michael and Thad Duvall? I mean, this could get very exciting back there for those guys too. And like you said, I mean, the gap is not insurmountable. Not to think that they couldn't close that gap back up and get this 4-way battle going on. Getting Thad Duvall into this one, man. This last hour coming up, last hour and a half, obviously. I think the next half hour we're going to see the stage set, and then that last hour is where things are really going to get crazy when we hit that 2-hour mark, I believe.
Yeah, absolutely. Still, I mean, we're still just basically at the halfway mark at this point. We're assuming it's going to be a 6-lap race. We could be wrong. Again, we'll wait and see when we get an official update. We see, again, our leaders there on screen. The one question mark we have at the moment, Rodney, the rider that was running second, we saw him, again, connect with a downed lapped rider. Drop back to third, and then that lengthy pit stop to do some adjusting on the front brake master cylinder lever assembly. We don't know exactly where he's running. We may have missed him at Ironman Hill. We don't know if he is there in that 5-6 place spot or if he's much further back, because we saw Grant Baylor come through, we saw Jordan Ashburn come through, we saw all those riders come through, but we won't actually get to see those guys again here for a little bit. So when we see him, we'll hope to see a shot that can tell us exactly where everybody in that top 5, 6, 7 are running, and we'll see if we can place Caleb Russell after the lengthy pit stop to make some adjustments. After the odd part is he went down on the left side, and the adjustments that he was making were to the right.
Yeah.
So you almost have to speculate that maybe that was from a different incident,
right.
Connecting possibly with the tree or another lap rider. Right. Here we are, 8-mile marker, Monster Mile. Josh Strang out front and pulling a little bit of a gap on that rider right there, working his way around a lap rider, the number 514 of Stu Baylor on that Ampro Yamaha.
So I wonder, you got to wonder what's going on through these guys' minds right now. I know Josh has got to be pretty excited to be where he's at. We saw him a couple of weeks ago. He was in a really great position, running in that second place position. Obviously, the filter change was something that kind of just really, literally took the wind out of his sails. You almost have to wonder, would it have been worth just going ahead and trying to ride that one out whenever you look back on it. But nonetheless, I mean, he feels like, he left a lot out there that day, and for good reason, man. It wasn't his fault. It was just the circumstance and the way things happen.
Well, there's your answer. Caleb Russell has now gotten around Sad Duvall and up into the 4th place spot, putting pressure on Lane Michael. So just as quick as I was going to say, Lane Michael moved up into 3rd. Caleb Russell might have something to say about that. Even after the pit stop, even after the adjustment, having the T-handle himself, making some bike adjustments, he is up into 4th and all over the back of Lane Michael for that 3rd place spot. Grant Baylor there now in your, would be 3, 4, 5, 6th place spot for Grant Baylor there. I'm sorry, 4, 5, 6. Yeah, that'd be 6 and 7 for Grant Baylor and Ben Kelly. There is Ben. So, look at that. That was an interesting little leg swag there. Sometimes you got to do that to get the traction to the ground.
Did we lose Jordan Ashburn?
Jordan Ashburn has not been through just
him there?
yet.
That's him there.
Nope, that's a lapped rider there. But Jordan is right there. So that's Jordan right there in that white and teal-ish fly gear, being colorblind, but he's on that Monster Energy Babbitts Kawasaki, and we do know that is him on the number 127 machine. So here at the 8-mile marker, Monster Mile, we should be seeing our XC2 guys work their way into this shot in a matter of just a few moments. And folks at home, you want to see battling? Sit back right now, crack open a cold one, whatever your choice is. Maybe it's a Pepsi, maybe it's an adult beverage, maybe it's a Monster Energy since we're in the Monster Mile. Crack one open and watch this battle that is about to come through your screen. You're going to see 4, maybe even 5 riders, wheel to wheel, just absolutely going for it.
You got me excited, Johnny.
I'm waiting. I was expecting him. I'm still excited.
And rightfully so. I mean, today, the racing has just been so stellar this year, but these last few races have really seemed to pick it up even more.
New leader again is the number 969 of Johnny Gerard out front. 2nd place now. Liam Draper up to 2nd. Lyndon Snodgrass on the 178 Monster Energy Babbitts Online Kawasaki in 3rd. And these guys are, you can throw a blanket over them. And right behind us, Snodgrass, I believe, is still, Mike Wachowski on the 282 Ampro Yamaha, and Craig DeLong. So that, what we promised, did not disappoint. Quicker than you can say their names, they're all through the shot.
Wow, crazy. That's your XC2 250 Pro class. It's Josh Strang leading now. Stu Baylor in 2nd. Lane Michael 3rd. Caleb Russell in 4th. Thad Duvall 5th. We've had a lot of changes. Will there be more? And what kind of great changes are ahead? Stick around to find out. GNCC Racing continues after this.
When you crave the canyon passes, rocky trails, rutted tracks, the podiums and personal records, it becomes part of you. The choice now is, do you become a wanderer or the wanderer? You just need to ride where you belong.
Born of family values and a homegrown work ethic, Cometic Gaskets seals your machine so you can focus on the finish line. Cometic Gaskets are the competitive standard for racers who demand the very best. Cometic Gaskets are constructed from superior materials designed to perform in the most demanding environment, whether it's championships on the line or a day in the dirt with friends. Professionals and enthusiasts depend on Cometic. Cometic Gaskets, sealing championships since 1989.
This week in Yamaha history takes us back to the 2005 Ironman GNCC. The pink race was born that year, and Johnny Gallagher donned a pink tutu to celebrate. It was lots of fun and laughs before the seriousness got underway. It was the age of Yamaha's Bill Balance and his 9 straight championships. GNCC greats and production ATV pioneers like Matt Smiley, Brian Cook, Brian Baker, Chris Jinks, Santo DeRisi, and Chad Duvall were just a few of the day's top stars. As the race began, all could tell it was going to be a long and challenging race. Conditions for the 10-year celebration of the event started out with what many may consider near perfect. As the race wore on and the riders worked the lines, it was obvious that things were soft and muddy and only got softer. Bill Balance had taken the lead on lap 1 and appeared to be looking for his 6th win of the season. Visiting AMA Pro ATV Motocross champion John Natale trailed by only 3 seconds, followed by Chris Borch and William Yoakley in 4th. By the end of lap 2, Yoakley had moved into the lead with Balance back in 3rd and Natale hot on the heels of Yoakley. By the end of lap 3 of 5, the Yamaha-mounted Bill Balance had latched on to Yoakley, riding no further than 2 seconds behind until the last lap, where he lost time trying to make a pass on Yoakley for the win in the closing moments. William Yoakley captured the checkers and the victory on that day, etching his name in the GNCC history pages forever. And that's this week in Yamaha history.
I've been coming to Ironman since 2007, so this place has changed a lot since then. I remember we used to park in just cornfields, and now we've got a full-blown moto track and gravel driveways. So it's definitely a big upgrade, and the track, man, I think it's still everyone's favorite on the calendar. I'm pretty sure we were lucky to get some rain this week. I heard it hadn't rained up here in 8 weeks, so we got some this week, and it'll keep the dust down. It won't be as ruddy and soft as normal, but I think it'll be a fun day. It looks fairly fast. I enjoy this track, and it's cold, man. It's from I mean, Friday I got here and it was almost 80 degrees. So today I think it's barely breaking 50, and so quite a drastic change there in a couple of days. Yeah, I still enjoy it. It's too difficult not to. If you're not having fun, it's too difficult not to keep doing it and just pounding into the ground. So I enjoy it. The races are difficult. Like we get the ones at the start of summer, John Penton, and some of those other ones around end of June, July. They get real difficult just with the heat. And then you come to a place like this, and it's the opposite weather, but the track is so fast where everyone can go fast. So none of them are ever easy, and I just enjoy coming here. The Babbitt's Online Monster Energy Kawasaki team are like family for Cameron and myself and Little Maverick. So we just like coming every weekend and having a good time, and then with a good time usually come good results. So this year's been good for me, and we'll try and do it as long as I can.
Well, I'll tell you, man, still having fun. I think that Josh String is still having fun. He said it right there, and he's showing it right out here on the racetrack today. That's why Josh String is still racing the motorcycle.
No question. He's still having fun, and right now he's having fun in the #1 spot to have fun in, which is the #1 spot.
Right. The best place to be, man. You can't beat that, that's for sure. As we wait patiently, we should be getting close to a conclusion of a lap. Yeah, we're within a minute of these guys should be scheduling in for a stop. We had a 27:20 lap time. We lost probably 25-30 seconds of the lap time, so we're about 25-30 seconds longer on lap 3 than they were the previous lap. So interesting to see how these laps are going, especially watching this lap traffic. Look at this. It's rider after rider after rider. And I know it's not as many as there was. And there he is, I believe, making his way on screen.
Yep, that was Josh Strang leading, and there is Stu Baylor in second. So Strang coming around this left-hander. There he is. He's already around the corner there and coming into the sand rollers, hopping his way through there. Hip hopping through those sand rollers on the 114 Monster Energy Babbitt's Online Kawasaki machine. Looking good today, and man, like you said, having fun, and sometimes having fun translates into really good finishes and really good rides. Stu Baylor still lurking though in that second spot.
You know, it's funny how riders, you talk about the Ironman, and even Josh talks about it. I mean, we got events like Beckley, West Virginia, Snowshoe, West Virginia, just to name a couple that you would think that might be a little bit more challenging events, but people always refer to this Ironman as one of the toughest races of the year.
Yeah, it's tough for a lot of reasons, man. I mean, this track, the soil is so good, it offers great traction, but it also ruts up, gets real rough. This is a track that just really does beat you up quite a bit. There we see Lane Michaels still in that third place spot, a lapper in between, and then Caleb Russell working his way around that lapped rider, and you can hear these guys just absolutely revving at these lapped riders. Get out of the way is what they're saying to him. And Thad Duvall right on Caleb's rear fender there in the 5th place spot. So 3, 4, and 5.
3.8 seconds separating first and second, Josh String and Stu Baylor. And you have to wonder, that 3.8 seconds, was that the time that we sat here and watched and wondered what was taking so long for that gas to empty into that can? And amazing, again, counting and looking back at the places where things changed in the race, and that could be the moment, the game changer as far as today's overall finish might be.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, and it looks like Josh Strang is actually opening up that gap even a little bit more. That's more than 3.8 seconds right there. So he's continuing to stretch that out. I don't think anything to be concerned about yet. If you're Stu Baylor, you can still see him. The guys that really need to kind of bridge that gap as quickly as possible, if they are able to, are Lane Michael, Caleb Russell, and Thad Duvall, because right now they have lost a good bit of time to that lead duo, and there is Lane in second, there is Caleb in third, and there is Thad Duvall in Lane in this third, Caleb in fourth, and Thad in fifth. So there's 3, 4, and 5 on screen. Top 5 through at the 1 mile marker at the Monster Energy Mile.
27:55 lap time that time around. Stu, the lap before, it turned a 27:20. So we see a 35-second longer lap time for Josh String than Stu Baylor's third lap time. Interestingly, Stu Baylor's fourth lap time 28 minutes and 3 seconds. So he lost quite a bit of a time, more than the 35 seconds. We're looking more at a 45 second loss that he's looking at.
All of those riders did pit that lap, so that is a part of that. Stu's pit was a good bit longer than the rest, so that's a few extra seconds. But I think the majority of what you're seeing there is this track getting rougher, the lappers like you had pointed out, and also this is the part of the race where it seems like these guys, if they realize they're not able to get away, this is kind of where they reset, regroup, take a little rest, take a breather, take a couple sips out of the Camelback, and really kind of reset for that last hour push, which we're going to work our way into here at the end of this next lap.
Well, we've got our top 10 in, I believe. Josh Strang, Stu Baylor, Lane Michael, Caleb Russell, Thad Duvall, Ben Kelly, Grant Baylor in 7th, Jordan Ashburn in 8th, Lyndon Snodgrass. We're waiting on him to check in here in just a couple moments from an XC2 250 class. Actually, Johnny G, the other Johnny G, Jonathan Gerard, the 969, 9th overall. Liam Draper rounding out the top 10. There is only 1.8 seconds that separate those two riders, it looks like. Oh, actually 5 seconds between first and second, and Lyndon Snodgrass is only 1.8 seconds behind Liam Draper, your 10th place rider.
Yeah, and there. Oh, is that one of our XC2 riders that just went down? No, it's not. It's not. That is a lapped rider down on screen there. But, yeah, that XC2 battle is just absolutely fast and furious, just like the XC1 battle. The battle for the lead is shaping up just lap by lap, corner by corner in both of these classes. And, it's just crazy to see this far into this race. There is your XC2 leader on screen, the 969 Trail Jesters KTM of Johnny Gerard. And it looks like he's shaken his pursuers. Looks like there is Liam Draper in 2nd, Lyndon Snodgrass in 3rd, and I believe Mike Witkowski, there he is, Mike Witkowski in 4th, Craig DeLong in 5th. So the top 5. We're joined back in booth again now by Mikey Waynes. Mikey, you've been out and about checking out some stuff on VP Fuels Pro Row. I'm sure you saw a lot of pit stops, but we've been watching some fast and furious action right here in front of us on RacerTV live on screen. And I got to tell you, these guys in this XC2 class, they are just hammering on each other. Well, I got to see a glimpse of it. It was chaos there for a second in the pits. It seemed like between all of the riders pitting and not pitting and the lap traffic, my head was on a swivel and I couldn't keep up. But one of the things I did see was that XC2 battle back there between Craig DeLong and Witkowski. And at that point, it was Witkowski right on the rear wheel. And I got to think, I know we all often talk about the lap traffic, but it seems to be playing a pretty major factor for at least the XC2 class today. It is for sure. And XC1 class as well. Josh Strang up the FMF PowerPoint. Stu Baylor in his shadow there right behind him. So at some point, we're going to try and see if we can get a gauge on if Lane Michael and Caleb Russell are gaining time or losing time. And I tell you what, right now, it seems like they might be losing time. It seems like this gap is just getting bigger and bigger. Oh, Caleb Russell around Lane Michael and into 3rd. So will KR1, will he be able to push the pace and close the gap? Or is he going to be duking it out with Lane Michael through the rest of this race over that 3rd place position? There is Thad Duvall in 5th. Those guys still very much in touch with each other right now.
I didn't hear you guys, but I don't know if you guys knew, but Caleb Russell actually grabbed the T-bar, was doing some wrenching by himself up there. So that was pretty cool. Now he's up into the number 3 spot.
Yeah, and we actually, the couple camera shots after that, we weren't exactly sure where he had slotted into the running order. So it was interesting to see when they finally came out in the fields and see that he was still right there in the top 5. So he made some quick adjustments on that front brake lever. I don't know if it was just in a position thing or exactly what had happened, but he grabbed the T-handle himself, and we were talking about that a little bit. Honestly, sometimes it is easier just to do it yourself rather than trying to explain what you want to have done.
And what we did not see on camera, I found out Thad Duvall's crew did the exact same thing for him as well. So interesting. I don't know if it's just something out the track is beating it up or what, but they both made about the exact same adjustment.
That's odd, but yeah, you never know what could be causing that. There is Caleb Russell up the Twin Hills and still having that shadow there, the 523 Ampro Yamaha of Lane Michael and the 989 Rockstar Racing Husqvarna of Thad Duvall. And, these guys still pushing the pace hard, but it doesn't seem like just yet they're able to make any inroads into that gap. Oh, look at this. Ben Kelly now.
There we go.
Ben Kelly up into 6th, around Grant Baylor. And not at all far behind the battle for the top 5 there. So Ben Kelly up into 6th. Oh, here we see, is that
Our leader, there he is, Josh Strang, on screen, out front, and he is from Australia, Denver, North Carolina. No, just kidding. Denver, North Carolina, by way of Australia, leading the way here in Crawfordsville, Indiana today. A journeyman racer that came here so many years ago, won a GNCC championship, has won many, many overalls, and actually won one already earlier this year at the Camp Coker Bullet back at round 5, it would have been, of the series. But, you know, for him to be back out front and leading, you know, and starting to pull a little bit of a gap on Stu Baylor, that's not 3.8 seconds. He's continuing to stretch that out. That's 6, 7, maybe 8 seconds now over Stu Baylor. The freight train is feeling it today, man.
The thing that impresses me about Strang is early in the season he was having that success, hadn't finished off the podium, and I heard a lot of chatter on social media about, well, you know, Thad's not out there, and this, that, and the other, and no Bollinger. And I kept saying, no. The times, the lap times, the races that Strang is putting on are impressive. And today he's going up against pretty much the entire pack as everybody's getting healthy again, and he's out front.
Yeah. There's no question. I mean, this guy's got the speed. He's proven it before. You know, back in the heyday of Caleb Russell, when Caleb Russell was an absolute terror, unbeatable, you know, winning crazy amounts of races. Josh Strang was the guy that was most often putting it to him. When I say back in, you know, that was just a few years ago. Thad Duvall most recently was probably the biggest thorn in Caleb's side the last couple seasons, but prior to that, it was Josh Strang that was really the one that was there week in and week out, kind of putting that pressure on Caleb. So there he is, Strang out front. Baylor looking like he lost even just a little bit more time. Again, nothing crazy, but that is a bigger gap than we saw just a few moments ago. So is this a situation where Josh Strang is just faster and he's slowly pulling away, or is he really sprinting? Now, we've lost Stu Baylor a lot of time there. Did you notice that?
Oh,
he is a full straightaway behind now in the fields. That's no longer 3-4 seconds. That's upwards of probably, well, we'll count at the hay belt here, 1,001, 1,002, 1,003, 1,004, 1,005, 1,006, 1,007, 1,008. We're not going to get to see it because the camera cut away, but it's going to be over 10 seconds up from just 3.8 at the finish line. Again, may not be a telltale sign, might be something where he just felt good in that section, or Stu made some goggle adjustments on the fly, or it could be a sign that maybe Stu Baylor starting to lose the pace that Josh Strang is able to put down.
Well, do we know yet, is it going to be a 6 or a 7 lap race? That was the big question. And I think what they were saying in the pits, which, you know, obviously if you look at timing and scoring, if it runs 6, I think it's going to be short. If it runs 7, it's going to be a little long and possibly dark.
And that might mean that we might end up having to go short just because of that particular reason. I mean, we did get started about 45, 50 minutes later than what we had originally scheduled to do. We had such a phenomenal turnout this morning, and obviously took a while to get those guys on and off the racetrack earlier today, so did put us a little bit behind. Now, it's what, 6:30ish before it's getting dark out here?
I noticed that last night. Things are staying lighter here in Indiana quite a bit longer than they are in Ohio. You know, obviously we're further west. That's just how the curvature of the earth works and sunsets.
Wait, you mean the earth is curved?
I thought it was flat. Whoa. If you guys are going to start talking flat earther stuff, I'm going to check out here for a little bit. Me too. Nonetheless, I did notice it was 7 o'clock last night and it was still light out. You know, I wouldn't have wanted to been racing in the dark or in the woods at 7 o'clock, but out in the fields it was still light. So go ahead, guys.
All right, sounds like a 7-lap race, I guess, then, huh?
Yeah, we're getting word that the call has been made. It will be a 7-lap race. They don't want to cut it short, and I think that's, as much as these guys may not agree, I think that's the right call. Looking at the race clock right now, they would be going a good bit short of that 3-hour mark if they did decide to go with a 6-lap race. But that being said, you know, I don't think darkness is something we're going to have to contend with, but I do think that fatigue is really going to set in for these riders with that extra lap, because this is a rough course.
It's going to be exciting. I'm probably going to be doing podiums in the dark, though. So, Big John, start moving some lights over there, man.
Well, good news. It's only 3:45 now, so if we do 3 more laps, even if... Oh, look at that! Thad Duvall makes the pass on Caleb Russell. He jumps off the bank. Caleb Russell goes up the other way. So who's going to come out on top? Look at that line!
Okay, so that is what's going on there. Those lines crisscross. Where Thad Duvall was, he was not able to take that right line, but where Caleb Russell, the line he wanted to take, he can't drop off that rock. So talk about a crisscross. I think we've got a replay coming, boys.
Thank goodness, because that was insane.
You see Caleb Russell take a look over here. He knows Thad's coming. Wow. He checks up and takes it right to the face, the splash. But then he absolutely just sends it up over this kicker, and I think he may have gotten back around Thad Duvall.
He had really good momentum heading up that hill, and it looked like that Thad had slowed down just a little bit up there. So, yeah, that could be pretty interesting to see if he was able to make that pass stick after getting by Caleb, at least for just a few moments there.
Let's hope we get to find out here in just a moment from this Yamaha Racing Skycam.
It's not often we get to see at a GNCC a rider going east-west and another one going north-south like that. That was uncanny.
By the way, 6:53 p.m. is sunset time here in Crawfordsville. Right. So yeah, it's a little later than it is back farther east where we are from in Ohio. So, and as Adam Gordon, our producer, said, where he is in upstate New York, over in that area, they are looking at an hour difference.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. So crazy. Well, like I said, I mean, Johnny don't believe flat Earth or anything like that.
Well, we are right on the edge of Eastern time zones. As a matter of fact, once you cross that Illinois state line, which is about 30 minutes from us, you're central time zone, I believe. So
yeah, if memory serves me correct, I believe that Indiana did used to be on the central time zone. So, and that changed in the last 20 years. I know. So differences. Josh Strang on camera now as we watch him from our Yamaha Racing Skycam. Beautiful view through those Indiana woods here as we get a great chance to watch him unleash his beast here today on his Monster Energy Babbitt's Kawasaki. Man, this is good to see Josh Strang be able to stretch his legs, you know. And if anybody had questioned if maybe Camp Coker might have been a fluke or a one-off for Josh Strang, I think if you look back at the history of everything, you can see that it wasn't, and he's been constantly building. Had a little bit of an issue, if I remember right, an injury, right?
Yeah, correct. Yeah, he did. I think he missed a full round. Actually,
had the shoulder injury, and of course, to see him back up to speed like this, man, I mean, you have to wonder, had that not happened, where would he be at this juncture, you know?
Yeah, and I think prior to that injury, he had not finished off the podium. Worst finish he had was a third.
Right.
So, I mean, the consistency was there. And like I was telling Johnny a moment ago, getting gnarly. Go get him. Go get him, boys.
I thought the far left line was supposed to be the easy line.
My goodness.
He looped that out.
Those mud fleas just got their money's worth for admission right there, no doubt about that.
Oh man, that is excitement right there, no doubt. Wow, look at this, Josh Strang back out in one of these field sections. Now, Mikey, I want you to do me a favor, and I want you to look at how these lines are developing. I noticed out in that last field shot, there was one section of area that was a little softer, and you saw like 15 ruts or something going through there, and they just keep making it wider and wider and wider through that section. This is a little drier out through here, but the way these lines develop out here in these fields have been kind of interesting today. But the thing, like Johnny said, this track is getting rougher and rougher, and these guys are moving farther and farther out, not necessarily to find a faster line, but the smoother line to conserve that energy.
Yeah, no doubt about that. Oh, okay. I panicked. I thought we had one there. That's some lap traffic. Got excited for a hot second.
So right now, watching again the battles up front. Stu Baylor at last, well, when he came through the finish line, 3.8 seconds behind. So we know that this is going to get kind of intense. We are in this right now working on the second hour anyway, an hour and 57.5 minutes into this race. So we're a little over an hour out before we will likely be seeing that checker flag fly. As we pointed out, it looks like it's going to be a 7-lap race. You start doing the math on that, 28 minutes, 28 minutes, 28 minutes, because, well, we got, this will be the end of, this will be lap 5. So, yeah, we'll get the 2-lap board this time around. So that makes pretty good sense whenever we start looking at this. And really, we probably won't be much over the 3-hour mark, but by maybe just a few minutes, a handful of minutes there. So very close to the 3-hour mark with that 7 laps, the way it's calculated right now, once we start looking into it a little bit deeper. So going to be an interesting 3 hours complete. So we still got an hour, maybe just a little over an hour of racing to keep going. There is Stu Stu Baylor. That gap a little bit wider than 3.8 seconds, but still somewhat within striking distance, and especially for Stu Baylor, as we know, he always seems to get the late race energy and always seems to in the clinch, be able to dig deep and pull out things that a lot of individuals never are able to find, let alone find at that juncture in the race and where they are physically on that racetrack. It's just basically becomes a machine at one point. There goes the number 1. There is the 989s. Now, what's going on here for Thad Dubois?
Oh, wow.
He just got off his bike. I don't know what he did. Maybe got a stick or something out of the back of that. Well, that let Caleb Russell stretch things out a little bit, and I wondered, did that let Ben Kelly get by? I know Ben was about 12 seconds back. Had he closed that gap up on those guys, I know he was turning a little bit faster lap time, so wouldn't surprise me if maybe if Ben Kelly, if he didn't get by there, I didn't see him get by, but I'm sure that we saw him close that gap up quite a bit. There is the 3:14 of Grant Baylor. So maybe Ben Kelly did go by in that little transition of riders that went by. I was just my mouth had opened. I was wondering what was going on there, and maybe Ben Kelly was able to get by there. I'm not real sure. So we'll see soon enough, because these riders are due in at the finish line in less than 10 minutes, 9.5 minutes according to calculations right now. And this section of the track where this Monster Mile is located, I can remember this from years ago. This has to be one of my most favorite parts of this property, to be honest with you. One of the most serene areas of this entire Shaver family farm when you get down into that area. Very beautiful and very soft, by the way. A lot of loamy, sandy type dark soil down there.
That's fantastic. I got to say, Rodney, we're what? Are we 2 hours in now?
Yeah, we are 2 hours
mark.
in.
This has probably been, and I know I'm biased to Ironman, obviously, but this has been one of the most exciting races I think we've had all year, with the level of competition in that top 5 changing up like crazy. And
then throw into the fact what's going on in the XC2 class.
Yeah, and with a championship, I mean, those guys in XC2 are without a doubt racing like a championship is at stake, and that thing very well could be going down to the last race of the season in a couple of weeks at, what is it, Buckwheat 100. I keep wanting, obviously, I keep wanting to say Blackwater 100, but that's turning the clock back a little bit. Yeah.
Hey, Buckwheat. Hey, Alfalfa.
Little rascals for anyone out there under probably 35.
Jonathan Garrar, Liam Draper now, yesterday's birthday boy, up to a second-place position. Lyndon Snodgrass in third in that XC250 class. Mike Witkowski was fourth. Craig DeLong in fifth. And as we know, I mean, you look at those times, those top 5 riders all within about 8 seconds, it looks like, maybe 9 at most, separating the top 5, and that's actually less than 2 seconds apart on average between those guys.
Well, what's crazy about it is you look at it, you see those names in the top 5, and as you look down that list of the XC2 250 class, I mean, you look at probably the top 12 riders. I look at there, and I look at those guys and think any one of those guys could come out here and get a W.
No doubt, that is for sure. There is DeLong, so that is our XC2 going by there. Garrar, Draper, Snodgrass. Did we see Witkowski going by there? There's Draper.
Liam.
Yeah, Liam's Drape dropped out of that second place position. He is behind now the 342 of Craig DeLong. So, wow, talk about tricks or treats, man. I think that's what's going on as the Halloween season approaches here in the GNCC Racing Nation and all across the U.S., I guess you could say. And, of course, with that, my friends, wow, we still got a long road to hoe and a lot to go as things have changed up in that XC2 Pro class, as well as things getting exciting in the XC1 class. How is this all going to finish today? Will we see even bigger changes before those checkers fly? Stick around to find out. GNCC Live continues after this.
It's hard to put our adventures on hold, but now is the perfect time to prepare for their return. AMSOIL has your back with fast, free shipping, and ordering has never been easier. Just look up your vehicle, select your product, add an oil change to your cart, and check out. Spend $50 on AMSOIL products, and shipping is on us. Order now at AMSOIL.com.
Even when you're the best, you never stop striving to be better. With over 40 years of experience in motorcycle sales and service, we know racing. Our inventory of Yamaha motorcycles, sport bikes, dirt bikes, ATVs, and side-by-sides is extensive and constantly changing. Stop by LoJack Cycle Sales today in Tarentum, Pennsylvania, and visit our online inventory at www.lojacks.com. Yamaha YZs. It's why we ride.
Hi, my name is Andrea Lee, the director of On Track School. How would you like to go to a school where we take into consideration how students learn best? Well, we do that because we find if we can build the curriculum around the things you are interested in, you're going to do a better job. The mission at On Track School is that educational success is possible while chasing your dreams. Not only will our staff help students to achieve success, they will cheer you on to the finish line. We encourage you to check out On Track School at ontrackschool.com, where we can help you chase your dreams and still get a quality education.
Grand National Cross Country is America's premier off-road motorcycle racing series. Riders compete on extended cross-country courses of 8 to 12 miles per lap and races lasting up to 3 hours. Up the mountains and through the trees, you'll find the best riders in GNCC. On MAV TV, Motorsports Network.
Yeah, we're here at the second to last round of the year at Ironman MX. The track looks great, looks fast, fun, flowy. I'm excited. Got 4 points up on the championship going in the last 2 rounds, so it's going to be a nail biter right down to the end, but I'm ready for it. Yeah, for sure. I'm trying not to think about it just like Craig. You know, I'm just going out there. It's just another Sunday, and it's just another race, and you know, we're going to go out there and do the best we can, and you know, kind of just leave that out of the picture for today, and I think make things go a lot smoother. Yeah, for sure. I mean, we're up, and it feels good, and we're in the points lead now. And, you know, hopefully we can, you know, have a solid result today and keep it there and hold on to the white plate. And, yeah, it's definitely a big confidence booster and definitely a good feeling, you know, being in the points lead and being in control and on top. So, sure.
Well, I tell you, man, that guy has really made a name for himself here in the GNCC racing, and is only going to make it bigger as time rolls on. There's no doubt about that. Johnny G on the two-wheel side of things, my friends. You know, mentioning Halloween and trick-or-treat there just a few moments ago. We had a little trick-or-treating action going on here last night. I actually went around last night and got myself some candy along with a few other folks. I think I might have went by those people, too.
Jordan Ashburn and his wife right there handing out some candy.
Yeah, there were a lot of folks up and down Pro Row, also all throughout the pits. You could go in, and the great thing about it was they would give you more than one. They would say, here, take more if you would like.
Yeah, exactly. By the way, that's Mary, his wife. We were on the bottleneck, and for some reason I could not remember Mary's name to save my life. Someone in the comments said, Jordan Ashburn's wife's name is Mary, and I'm like, no, it's not. And I'm like, oh, yes, it is. Check that out. Got the gorilla.
They even had a costume contest last night. Oh, I love the helmets. Awesome. Yeah, I love the look of that. But a costume contest at Team Faith. Chuck LeMaster and the folks over at Team Faith helping organize that.
Little Ronnie Mack says four strokes suck.
And there's Tim Cotter, our Director of Operations, handing out our Moto Hero Award. Man, I tell you, something about this morning is very special, no doubt. They're all special, though. I mean, every Moto Hero that we award, very special. But
Mike Pelletier right there. This is his first. I didn't know this. Mike Pelletier, the guy in the AMA jacket right there, is Director of Racing for the AMA. Normally at Supercross. He's done the GNCC banquet with us. He's never been to a GNCC. I had no idea. So Carrie Joe told him, all right, if you're going to one, come to this one. I talked to him this morning.
Blown away.
I said, what'd you think? He's like, I'm racing next year. AM. He's like, I am racing this. This is incredible.
There's something about the atmosphere, the energy energy of this place that is just second to none, man. And I guess that's why when folks talk about it, you know, you talk about GNCC, you know, oftentimes you hear people talk about the rough snowshoe, but the Ironman is the one that really, I hear about Ironman. I've heard about the Ironman. If I'm going to race, I'll try that Ironman. And we had a lot of ATV riders, new ATV faces from the ATV racing communities that yesterday. We've got, well, Axel Hodges raced this morning. We saw him, and well, he owes us a mullet, and Stu Baylor owes him a case of Coors Light. But aside from that, you know, I mean, Axel was here, and you know, Axel, I know not the only person that is visiting us here this weekend, maybe one of the biggest noted riders that we have that are here with us right now, but just so many folks from all around making their way out here to be a part of the atmosphere. I mean, when you're looking at
string on string there.
Nearly 1,500 riders in only one day of racing.
Yeah,
I mean, you have to think there's something special about this place. And yeah, like you said, there is Josh Strang making his way around here now. We get back up here. Yep, 2-lap board coming out on this one as lap number 5 going to be complete. 27:55 last time around for Josh Strang, your leader. He had a 3.8-second lead when he concluded lap number 4. As we conclude lap number 5 at timing and scoring, and there is Stu Baylor still back in the number 2 spot. Josh Strang checks in with a 27:22, knocks off 37 seconds off that, 38 seconds off that lap time that time around. And looking back into that number 2 position, 8.8 seconds at 27:27 for Stu Baylor. Wow. Now Lane Michael should be our next rider through, or according to the way things were. Michael was some 23-24 seconds back, but here comes the number 1 of Caleb Russell, who had made the pass on Lane Michael, and now is trying to secure at least a podium position and try to make up the gap that has opened up, that they may be closing up a little bit. 27.9, so it opens up another near 5 seconds between that second and third place position. But Caleb Russell, Lane Michael, Thad Duvall, all nose to tail as they came through the finish line barrel there just a few moments. Actually, that wasn't Thad Duvall, that was Ben Kelly that had moved up into the number 5 spot. And I meant to make mention of Kelly a little while ago, that he was starting to get some momentum, and we may see him start to inch his way up through the pack like we did see him do just a couple of weeks ago.
Well, Ben Kelly, the guy, as a matter of fact, last year here at Ironman that took the win. So, you know, that's probably, if I'm Ben Kelly, that's in the back of my mind. Like, hey, man, I won this thing last year. I'm not even at a podium position right now, and we're in that final hour. So now's the time for Ben Kelly to start making that push.
I will say this, you know, I mean, this is something that we've seen as tradition for Ben Kelly out of the last couple of races anyway. He's a slow starter, but, man, a strong, fast finisher.
Yeah, exactly. There's been moments there where there's these glimpses, and he looks like that guy right there, the number 1 of Caleb Russell. It's hard to deny. And look at that 1, 2, 3 right there. Those guys really pulling in on each other.
Wow. That has tightened up quite a bit in the last few moments alone. Even to see Thad Duvall. Where is Thad? Grant Baylor checks in at number 6 spot. You might need to get your wheels back, buddy, and head over there and find out what's going on. You go do that. We'll keep an eye on this and watch the action unfold here at the 26th running of this Ironman GNCC. Mikey Wayne's heading out to the pits to get the lowdown, find out maybe if we know what's going on with the 989 of Thad Duvall. There's 314 now of Grant Baylor. Again, he's up to 6. Ben Kelly is up to 5th, and I still haven't seen the 989 check in just yet on the computer or on TV screen just yet. So we'll be keeping watchful eye out for Thad Duvall to see if we can find him here on the course. And what a heartbreaker for him. Good running today, and I tell you what, when you look at the big picture, not a long way to go as far as getting back up into momentum and pace of what the GNCC is. So next year, whenever in the off season, when he's doing his training and getting ready for next year, he's going to be coming out swinging, and he's going to be one of the tougher ones to beat without a doubt. And I don't think that he's going to be the only one that's going to be tough to beat. These guys are all proving that they want a little piece of this. Obviously, Stu Baylor with those 3 consecutive wins. Josh Strang with the rides that we've been seeing out of him as of recently. Lane Michael coming back to life and rejuvenated, it seems like. And Lane Michael could be a big threat for the championship in the 2021 season as well. As Bad Thad Duvall does check in there, we see him at the finish line on the 989. He has dropped back to an 8th place position. He is 28.5 seconds behind Jordan Ashburn, who is 1 minute and 38 seconds behind Grant Baylor. So whenever we start doing the math, we're going to call that 2:45. Wow. Nearly 3 minutes of lost time for the 989 of Thad Duvall on that 1 lap alone. There's the 127 we see on screen now. Jordan Ashburn, he is your 7th place ride now in the XC1 class as well as the overall. Ashburn been running a fairly steady race. We saw him up a little closer to the top 5, but a little shuffling around has dropped him back to 7th, but still got a good head of charge down there as he makes his way through this monster mile out here near mile marker 1 at Ironman Raceway. Here comes, make sure we get that number right before, yeah, that is the 989. That is Thad Duvall. Just wanted to make sure. So Duvall, I have to wonder, that looked like he might be making up a little bit of time right now. It's hard to tell. 28 seconds, or at least for that quickness anyway. Josh Strang out here at the FMF PowerPoint now. It's just a mile further down the track as look back at the 1 mile marker, and this looks like that's the battle going on for our XC2 250 Pro class. And the way that one's breaking down right now is when we look at this one a little closer, it looks like Johnny G still out front, Snodgrass second, Mikowski third, Craig DeLong we saw there in 4th, Liam Draper in 5th. The birthday boy there, you just seen him make that corner there. He's about 14 seconds behind those front 4 riders right now as they made their way into the Monster Mile. Now at the FMF PowerPoint for some of our lead riders. I believe that was, the 3rd place position of Caleb Russell checking in. Lane Michael right behind him still as we were rolling with a head full of steam here through the FMF PowerPoint. And Ben Kelly also, don't forget about that rider, the number 530. He was running 8th or 7th place position just a couple of laps ago and has really put himself into a great spot, possibly for the likelihood of a podium if he can position himself right here in the closing hour. Well, now 45 minutes of racing that we have here for this Ironman GNCC. 2 hours 15 minutes of racing, and what we have calculated is right around or just over the 3-hour mark of racing with the amount of laps that we'll be turning in. I will say this though, one thing to point out is this, it has gotten a little bit faster, about 40 seconds faster on that last lap around as it was opposed to lap number 4, which kind of might be a little bit of a surprise, but lends itself back. There's Caleb Russell making his way up now, but lends itself to, and there is Lane Michael, and right behind him, again, the 530 of Ben Kelly. But anyway, man, I love the way this track runs right now. It just gives us so many opportunities to see these guys coming and going like that. So kudos to the track crew for the great layout, and also to the RacerTV camera crew for setting up these great and wonderful shots as well. Back out to our Yamaha Racing Skycam now as we check in with our leader, and wow, again, that 8.8 seconds seems to be mounting even larger, or is it? Is that Baylor now starting to maybe pick things back up? And that very well could be the 514 once again, and is as we head into the backside of the pits over here. So we're about ready to see things really start to get exciting. Josh Strang is going to have to pit this time around. Question is, will Stu Baylor be pitting on this time around? I'm watching right now. I know they got some goggles and they got a gas can ready in the Yamaha pits at Ampro, and here they come. There come the Kawasaki. There is Josh Strang in. He is going to take a quick pit stop. He's going to get a drink of water, a splash of gas. There's Stu Baylor. He is in. New fresh pair of goggles. Quick splash of gas. He's in. He's out. Both riders about the same amount of time, so nothing really gained by Stu Baylor in the pits that time around. Nothing really lost by Josh Strang either. But I have to say that looked a little closer than the 8.8 seconds that we were looking at just a few miles ago when we crossed through the finish line, taking that 2-lap board, signifying 2 to go here at the Ironman GNCC. Now you can see the boat yard over there for part of Tom's Marine and Sales and Service, one of the nation's premier Polaris dealerships. Proud to be a part of the great things going on here with us this weekend. And of course, again, Josh Strang still out in front of this one. There you see him visually on the track. We'll put a clock on. Well, maybe not. Next time we'll put a clock on him and see what we can see as far as those deficits between the two riders. Here's our battle for XC2. They are still nose to tail. Look at that. That's Wachowski going out, trying the alternate line, seeing if it might pay some dividends for him. I don't think he lost anything from doing that. May have actually gained a little bit by doing it as well. So interesting. Like so many line choices, you never know which is going to be the best and what's going to work out. Like Johnny Gallagher pointed out earlier today, you know, the risk and reward of saving 1 second sometimes, well, the risk may not just be worth it in the end. If you end up not getting the reward, it certainly hurts you when it's all said and done. So just a lot to think about whenever you're out there on these race courses. And I know the ever-changing conditions keeps these riders on their toes. Got to have race smarts as much as you do got to have the energy to keep it going. And you know, that's where a good physical peak fitness can help you in the long run, because it helps keep you mentally sharp whenever you're out here on the racetrack, still able to pick and choose the more appropriate lines. And as we said, this track has gotten a little bit wider out in some of these field sections, and rightfully so. You saw a lot of lines in a soft spot heading into that wood section. Riders in this afternoon class are trying to divert that as much as possible, and in doing so they save themselves from getting into the mud and the possibility of maybe having an issue of some sorts of going down or something along those lines. By the way, just a heads up, we'll need to get to a amateur report coming up here pretty soon, but Jason Raines has taken over the lead in the XC3 class. I know he and well, they've been battling for that one for well, since the start of this race, and we saw Raines was out front at one point. We saw Zach Hayes out front, or Jason Lipscomb out front at one point. Lipscomb has dropped off to a 4th place position now. Zach Hayes is your 2nd place position with Mike DeLosa in 3rd. So it's Raines, Hayes, DeLosa, Lipscomb, and Colt Converse rounding out the top 5 in the FMF XC3 125 Pro-Am. Here we are at Ironman Hill, and there goes Baylor and the boys up the hill and just attacking that one. Josh Strang ahead of Baylor, of course, but he just attacked that one right straight for the throat, right up the middle. Well, we saw Caleb make that little switch up last time around. We saw the 989 of Thad Duvall literally almost jump completely across the creek and steal that position away, at least for a few moments, from the number 1 of Caleb Russell. Will there be anything like that happening? Whoa, this time Caleb Russell making the jump and stalling nearly in the middle of that creek, and he goes to the right side, playing it safe rather than sorry for the number 1 machine. I think we saw 989 there is Lane Michael, now the 523 there. Here's your 4th place ride, and did we miss the 989, or has he not come through yet? That might start to stretch him out a little bit. Sounds like we got Mikey Waynes down in the pits. We'll check in with him while we keep an eye on what's going on.
Craig DeLong and Johnny Gerard duking it out wheel to wheel. Johnny Gerard stopped for a splash. Craig DeLong kept on going. No, scratch that. Flip that. Sorry, flip that.
Right.
I got too involved. It's my adrenaline's rushing, Rodney.
I get you, brother. I know how it works. I was laughing with you, not at you, brother. These are the types of days when that happens, and it's hard to get your words sometimes. It is hard to find. It's hard to find a thought that you could put into words and keep it flowing, because there is just so much excitement that abounds around, and you get sucked in. It's hard not to. If you're as big a race fan as I, myself, and Mikey Waynes, and all the RacerTV crew are, sometimes you do get sucked into the race, and it's hard not to. And got to remember and keep reminding yourself, you're here to do a job for the race fans at home and around the racetrack. So you got to stay focused on this without getting too involved in what's going on out there. Man, that has tightened up quite a bit now. This is the battle for the lead we're watching here. We were at 8.8 seconds. We had noted that we thought it might be closing up a little bit, and guess what? Visually, at least right now, that has closed up quite a bit. 1001, 1002, 1003. So we're down to a 3-second gap between first and second place now. So looks like that maybe Baylor has gained about 5 seconds and maybe trying to put the push on to maybe make the pass on the 114 machine. Here we come into some lap traffic down. That's going to slow Josh Strang down even more, and that's going to give Baylor that opportunity to gain those microseconds that it's going to take to put himself in position to try to make the pass on Strang. Man, Strang is really laying it out here in these open field sections. Now starting to open things back out. Wow, Strang really able to distance himself a little bit over Stu Baylor there, finding a little bit more speed and maybe a little more, I got to get some riders between me and that 514 as they head in the woods section. He will get at least one as they go back in there, but how much time will it take Stu Baylor to get around that lap traffic? Let's see as the riders are making their way back out around this little wooded section. Baylor was able to get around pretty quick again, but it's slicing through the rest of these lap riders like a hot knife through butter goes Josh Strang, and Stu Baylor's trying to stay in close tow with him. And what had shrunk back down to a 3-second deficit between those guys is beginning to open back up just a little bit through these open field sections where one may have thought that maybe Stu might be able to close that gap up a little bit. But obviously when Stu's getting the work done here, it's out in those wood sections and some of those tougher, slow-moving areas. There's Craig DeLong. Oh, no, that's Thad Duvall. Yeah, Craig DeLong making his way. No, he did not make his way up Ironman Hill. He is stuck on Ironman Hill, and thankfully for him, at the top of the hill, the mud fleas are able to get him and keep him going and get him to the top of that hill. So he was able to do it, and that might have been the 989 right behind him. I don't know if Thad Duvall is. Oh, that was a 969. I saw a 9 and a 9. Look, it's hard to see, but 969. So we must have. So I guess we have a new leader. Is that what you're telling me now, Adam, on that one? All right. So yeah. So. Craig DeLong taking the lead. He had moved up from 4th place, and again, they were less than 3 seconds apart, the top 4 when they came through. Gerard, Snodgrass, Witkowski, and DeLong. Now DeLong is your leader. Gerard is that number 2 position. So I believe that would put Snodgrass maybe in 3rd and Witkowski back to the number 4 spot. We'll keep a closer eye on that second XC2 battle as we roll through these closing moments. But right now, 2 hours and 25 minutes into this race, 5 of 7 laps complete. Leaders due in that XC1 class and for the overall right now. And I'm guessing somewhere in the neighborhood of about 11 minutes. Wow, they're moving a little quicker pace than what I realized. So 11 minutes when we should be seeing Josh Strang, Stu Baylor in at the finish line, while we're seeing him right now here at the 8-mile marker. Caleb Russell running now some 30 seconds back in that 3rd place position. Lane Michael and Ben Kelly will keep an eye out here at the 8-mile marker, I believe, to see what's going on with that race and battle for the 3rd place position. Yeah. Yep. And so with that, my friends, we got ourselves still a lot to watch unfold here. Rarely do we see the XC2 that intense with 4 riders this late in the race. I'm talking just a little more than a lap left to go. But there is the number 1 of Caleb Russell, and that appears to be way more than a 27.9 second deficit between he and that 2nd place position. Did I miss Lane Michael or Ben Kelly or any of the other riders coming through there just ahead of him, I'm wondering? But just watching and waiting out here at the 8-mile marker, the monster mile, if you will. Yeah, and I believe that gap is opening up between 2nd and 3rd now. We'll get another shot of those guys coming up here pretty soon. folks, right now we're looking at 2 hours and nearly 28 minutes of racing. We'll go the full 3 hours. We got a little more than a lap to go, and about 8 minutes before a white flag. With that being said, this race is certainly going to be a nail-biter, I believe, right down to the bitter end, not only in this XC1 class, but also in this XC2 class, as we are waiting on these riders at the 8-mile marker right now, and we should be seeing the 342 of Craig DeLong maybe checking in here pretty soon. Was 4th place at the end of lap number 5, but here on lap number 6, he has been able to find himself up to the 1st place position, and the beauty of it is those front 4 were only about 4 seconds apart, so he had himself in a pretty good position to be able to make that happen. The big question is, now that he is there, will he be able to keep it out front of the 969 as those riders continue to battle heatedly for that national championship here in that XC2 250 Pro class? Eight-mile marker, again, monster mile. I think I heard them say something along the lines of a 14-mile marker at one point in that riders meeting earlier today. So what a big track we've got here, and surprisingly quick lap times considering the length of the course itself. But as we've duly noted, this race facility this weekend is pretty fast for these riders. Good traction and good riding availability here for them. We saw it in the ATVs. They had some good fast laps yesterday. They were running some very intense racing, and the same thing here in the two-wheel side of things. Now there is, who is that? Was that Jordan Ashburn that maybe went by right there? Okay, so that was Jordan Ashburn, the 127 going by there. We were able to catch up with, I know, Ashburn running back in that 7th place position there at the end of lap number 5. Going to have his work cut out for him to catch up to the rest of the field out there, as I know he's looking at a 1 minute and 37-second gap between himself and Grant Baylor, who is just ahead of him. There's Craig DeLong now checking in, and I believe Johnny G not far behind. So 1st and 2nd coming through now here at the Monster Mile. We'll get a better look at them as they make their way down the hill here. There is the Rockstar Energy Husqvarna of the 342 machine. And then back, so that's not nearly as tight as I thought it was for that 2nd place position. There's Witkowski, I believe, back in that number 3 spot now on the 282 machine. And there is, it looked like maybe Grant Baylor going by there in the mix of things as well. So the way it's looking there in that XC2 class right now, if we can sort that one out, I think Craig DeLong out front of that one. I believe it was still back in that number 2 spot, Johnny G. Mike Witkowski back in the number 3 spot in that XC2 Pro class. We'll see whether or not that holds steady and true or not. We'll be due for a white flag in about 5 minutes for our XC1 Pro class. And folks, it's hammered down from that point on. One more lap to go. Stick around. Who is going to be able to take the 2020 Ironman GNCC? There's only one way to find out. Stay right here. We'll be right back.
When you crave the canyon passes, rocky trails, rutted tracks, the podiums and personal records, it becomes part of you. The choice now is, do you become a wanderer or the wanderer? You just need to ride where you belong.
Well, I'll tell you, folks, as we all well know, the GNCC Racing Nation we talk about is always so much more than those XC1 and XC2 riders that we talk so much about. It's all about the amateur part of the Racing Nation as well. As we take a look at our amateur rundown, Max Fernandez leading the 158 class, Braden Ouellette, Dylan Hicks, Eli Childers, and Hunter Smith rounding out your top 5 as we got some really great battles back there in that 158 class. Cole Whitmer in that number 1 spot of the 4-stroke A lights class. Travis Renaud, Tyler Palmer, Nathan Davis, and Chase Knopp are your top 5 there in the 4-stroke A lights class. Looking ahead to our next class, the Junior AB 25+ class, we see riders like Andrew Bongs from Masontown, West Virginia, leading Grant Marriott out of PA. Cody Jeffers in that number 3 spot. Gina Carlo Klauser in 4th, and Austin Franklin rounding out your top 5. The Bet A 30+ class, Nathan Alring. Wow. The Cincinnati, Ohio rider leading this one over Joe Marsh. Morgan Green from Jackson, Ohio, a former up-and-coming youth racer from many, many years ago in Athens, Ohio, running 3rd. Eric Stevenson out of Newburgh, Oregon, in 4th. Frank Messina, we call him Smiling Frank, out of Campbell Hall, New York, leading this one with Shotgun Sean Remington out of New Salem, Pennsylvania, who got the whole shot this class in 2nd. Joe Stoles in 3rd, Mike Grizzle in 4th, and Larry Sylvia rounding out the top 5 of the Senior A 40+ class. Open B class, Easton Morgan out of Rock Falls, Illinois, visitor here with us this weekend, leading Mason Pelfrey from West Portsmouth, Ohio. Lane Smith running in the number 3 spot. Anthony Blackburn in 4th, and Dawson Nixon rounding out the top 5. Your 250B class, Cameron Matterson from Wright City, Missouri, making the way out here to the Ironman GNCC, leading Joshua Connor out of Houston, Pennsylvania. Bobtown, PA's Ethan Dingle in 3rd, Wyatt Schumann in 4th, and Dylan Ramos rounding out the top 5 out of Texas. Toby Cleveland out of Aaron, New York, your leader over Peyton Gwynn in the 150B class. Philo, Ohio's Blake Kohler in 3rd. Steele Reeves out of Carthage, Indiana in 4th. Kyle Dutton from Holland, New York rounds out your top 5 in that 150B class. The 4-stroke B lights class, Lake Plowman making a name for himself today out of Waverly, Illinois, leading Rock Falls, Illinois rider Jason Crawford. We got Garrett Mundy back at the number 3 spot. Trevor Golden in 4th, and Derek Levi Ward rounds out your top 5. Looking ahead from the Vet B 30+ class to our next divisions, I believe we'll probably start looking at some maybe get a rundown of some of those pro class. Senior B, there we go. Shannon Hatfield out of Logan, Ohio, leading Mark LaBelle, Joselton Ramos, Ryan Frost, and Mike Horwath out of Normalville, Pennsylvania, rounding out the top 5 there in that Senior B 40+ class. And, of course, the XC1 Pro class still being in last check, led by Josh Strang, Stu Baylor in 2nd, Caleb Russell in 3rd, Lane Michael in 4th, Ben Kelly rounding out the top 5 with Baylor, Ashburn, Duvall, DeLong, and Evan Earl out of South Carolina rounding out the top 10 in the XC1 Pro class. Johnny Garrar, also Lyndon Snodgrass. Now, this has changed up quite a bit as Craig DeLong had taken over the lead and moved it around. Draper still back in the number 5 spot. Cody Barnes, 6th, Ryder Lafferty, 7th, Jonathan Johnson in 8th, Jesse Ansley 9th, and Ben Parsons rounding out the top 10 in that one. 125 Pro-Am class, Jason Rain, Zach Hayes, Mike DeLosa, Jason Lipscomb, and Colt Converse, your top 5 in the FMF XC3 125 Pro-Am class. Been a rather interesting battle between those guys today as well. And the Open A class, Nathan Rector, Will Simon Piper, Tanner Whipple visiting us here from out of Illinois, arena cross, motocross star, and also an Illinois Woods guy, Chase Hayes and Alex Luger rounding out the top 5. And what we got going on screen, it looks like JoJo Cunningham leading the 250A class, Tristan Lander, Dakota DeVore, Logan Kiddock, and Brendan Poling your top 5. Johnny Gallagher joining us back in studio as we wrap up the amateur rundown. I believe that was our last class we'll be taking a look at, but wrapping up lap number 6 now and taking the white flag. What's going on, Johnny G?
Josh Strang leading the way, a white flag waving, and hot on his heels, the 514 Ampro Yamaha ride of Stu Baylor. So look at this, folks. This one's still absolutely in contention right now. And look at this, Ben Kelly now up into the 3rd place ride. So it is, Kelly has made his way around Caleb Russell into the third place spot, and Ben Kelly is charging. Caleb Russell hot on his heels in fourth, and these guys are hammered down, but do they have enough left in the tank in just this last lap to go out and catch the lead duo of, right now, Josh Strang leading the way, Stu Baylor in second, and there we see, oh, sorry, that's a lap rider there, but Ben Kelly third, Caleb Russell fourth, and your top four are now complete with 6 laps in the books. Lane Michael coming through there is your 5th place rider, and it looks like, oh, nope, another lap rider behind him. So there is your top 5 through. Lane Michael checking in at the white flag.
Well, when we look at the times here, we got 1.7 seconds between Strang and Baylor, 26 seconds back to the third place position. Looking at lap times, a 2:37 flat for Josh Strang, a 2:37.02 for Stu Baylor, and a 2:37.28 for Ben Kelly.
There you go, and look at this.
Oh, wait a minute, that's the elapsed time. I'm sorry, 27:47, 27:40. Actually, it was Ben Kelly about, 11 seconds faster than Josh Strang. Sorry about that. I was looking at the I was like, that didn't sound right.
Yeah, so with 11 seconds faster, though, look at this. We see 2 battles. Right now, the battle for the lead, and here is the battle over third, and both of these guys, inside out, outside in, crossing each other up. Every opportunity they get, absolutely throwing down. These guys battling over third, and we just saw that battle on screen with Strang and your 2nd place rider of Stu Baylor. And Rodney, I think these positions are going to get swapped a few more times before this one's all over. Lane Michael holding strong there in the top 5. He's lost the toe a little bit in that battle for the podium, but still much within striking distance if something goes sideways.
And one thing I can say, we are seeing, I think, glimpses of what next year are going to bring us, you know, with the incentive that Lane is going to have this year, with the progression that he's seen, with even the up and down season that he's had, this latter part of the season when he's working his way back to strong and back to healthy, he's got to be pretty stoked at where he's at on the gauge right now, and even more excited for what the 2021 season is going to bring for him.
Absolutely, I couldn't agree more. There's nothing, you know, when you have a frustrating season, some people just say, oh, well, let's just wipe this one out of the books and get ready for next year, but there's nothing better than being able to build some momentum at the end of a season, knowing that going into the off season, what you were doing, it was working, you know, and it kind of gives you a little bit better, better gauge of what you need to do to get ready for the upcoming season. In this case, Lane Michael, you know, had some good rides earlier in the year, but then struggled through the midpoint. Obviously had that shoulder injury and a few other things going on, but he's really come on strong of late, both here and at the Sprint Enduros as well, where he actually has been battling Caleb Russell for wins week in and week out the last couple rounds there, and took it all the way down to the final round for the championship there. Grant Baylor, there is now your 6th place rider. So that is your top 6 through. Baylor has settled that back and forth battle he had earlier. Now keep in mind, Ben Kelly just 2 laps ago was there with Baylor, and now he's up into that 3rd place spot. So as you pointed out, Ben Kelly, the rider on the move, actually 11 seconds faster even than the leader. But still, with the gap back to Kelly there being 26 seconds, you got to wonder, 11 seconds? That still leaves you 15 shy of where you want to be if you want to get up in there and battle for the win. So I don't know that Ben Kelly and Caleb Russell are going to be able to make up 26 seconds. That's a lot of time in one lap.
Especially under the current circumstances with Strang out front and Baylor pushing him at the level he's pushing him at.
Absolutely. I think the only thing that's... The only thing that's really going to shake things up beyond, obviously, Strang and Baylor continuing to battle over the lead, and then Russell and Kelly continuing to battle over third. I think the only thing that really shakes that up is if somebody goes down and changes up a position that way. But I think those 2 battles, but I don't think those 2 battles will come together and become one big battle for the win, if that makes sense.
You know, and I'm sure folks are at home wondering, number one, why is Caleb racing today? You know, well, I think it's all part of the Fair World Tour. He wanted to hit all the tracks this year, obviously, because it's his last opportunity to do that as an XC1 Pro Class rider. But at this juncture in the race, when you've got somebody that is pushing it as hard as what Ben Kelly is right now. Whoa!
Look at this, side by side, hard on the throttle, and Strang able to hang on. Did you see Stu Baylor hanging off that bike, man?
Wow, that happened. I knew they were coming, but didn't realize that they were right there, man. And when and side by side was an understatement, I think, of what was going on. Those guys, man, they are so tight right now, pushing each other so hard here at the 2-mile marker in the FMF PowerPoint.
Will we see it again here? Look at this. Ben Kelly looking like he's broken free. No, he hasn't. There's Caleb right there. For a moment, I thought he might have broken away from Caleb Russell.
Well, I tell you, as exciting as it is there, you know, I was going to allude to the question, you know, what does Caleb Russell have to gain today by pushing the envelope like this just for a third-place position podium?
Pride. That's ultimately what drives these guys on some level. Of course, championships, championship bonuses, contracts, all of those things are things that Caleb no longer needs to worry about, but pride. I mean, he's a racer at heart. You know, Ben's a younger rider that's come up much through his tutelage, you know, and have the opportunity to go out. Lane Michael there in the 5th place spot. There it is. Strang, Baylor, wheel to wheel, battling it out, absolutely throwing down. And I'll tell you what, this right here is shaping up to be another 9 miles of just absolute carnage.
Now, the question is, who has the advantage in this scenario?
Nobody. Nobody. The fans. You know who has the advantage?
Yeah.
The fans and us here. Because right now, this is honestly just a crapshoot. I mean, one of these guys is going to tell you after the race, I had it planned out. I knew it all along. The reality of it is, this is 2 guys absolutely taking it to the wall. They're pushing. Josh Strang badly wants this win. He wants to prove that he's a contender. We know he's a contender, but he wants to prove he's the contender going into 2021. Stu Baylor winning 4 races in a row, looking to try, or I'm sorry, 3 races in a row, looking to try to make it 4, and he's trying to prove that he's unbeatable going into 2021. So both of these guys, very much something to prove. Neither one of them willing to give an inch to the other.
Well, I tell you, it looks like Stu Baylor right now is in total stalker mode. I mean, he obviously is ridden with some aggression to get up to where he is, but right now he just appears to be stalking back there. He doesn't really appear to be pushing to try to make any passes at this particular juncture. Now, he took a nice wide line there trying to find some traction and a smoother line, it looked like.
Yeah, and that's... I don't necessarily think either one of these guys, based on their riding style, their fitness level, there is no advantage right now. Hypothetically, you could say Stu's in the catbird seat because obviously Josh is the one that has to catch the lappers first. Josh is the one that every time they come to a split line, Stu can literally take every line that Josh doesn't and just see if something happens.
Into the pro pits we go, by the Yamaha pits, and now by the Monster Energy Babbitt's Online Kawasaki pits. Our leaders, the 114 and the 514, Josh Strang and Stu Baylor now in front of the crowd here as they disappear around the KTM truck, now down through the auxiliary pits. Man, I tell you, these guys very close in tow of each other. I mean, you look at it, the distance looks like maybe several feet, but we know as well as anyone that this momentum, this type of racing, these guys might as well be side by side at this particular point.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, this is great racing. Now we see right in front of our RacerTV studio, Ben Kelly, Caleb Russell, still just a few bike lengths behind him. The pit boards are out. They're oh, look at this. Ben Kelly coming in for a splash of gas. Is Caleb Russell going to have to gas as well?
Yes,
they both are. They're both fueling.
Wow, interesting scenario there. And, man, Ben had really opened up a little bit of a gap over the number 1. But look at that. He gets out a little quicker, so that's going to tighten things right back up. Caleb Russell maybe didn't take on nearly as much gas as maybe what Ben Kelly did there just a moment ago.
Yeah, well, it looked like they both went with a splash and go, but it's interesting to see, you know, they're so close. It's really, honestly, again, with this battle here, it's really going to come down to, do any of these guys have a line picked out, or, you know, in the case of Stu, it kind of looks like he's throwing it every opportunity he gets. We see him taking the outside ins in a lot of the 2 lines. He's really trying to put that pressure on Josh Strang and looking like he's trying to force him into that mistake. Here we see it again. Different lines, and they're going to come back together and allow them to take different splits there again.
You know, this reminds me of round 3 when we were in Georgia before before everything fell apart in the world of 2020. But the race that we saw between the number 1 of Caleb Russell and Stu Baylor, the situation being Stu Baylor out front and Caleb Russell back in that number 2 position there. As we approach the end of that general GNCC, I mean, even though these are well, there's a little different rider and snare. I mean, but just the way it's breaking down, it really seems a lot like that right now.
Yeah, you know, anytime we see these battles down to the final lap when they're this close together, it just opens up that opportunity for those dramatic, exciting last lap battles, last lap passes, or in the case of the General, you know, 2 corners to go passes. But from the Yamaha Skies cam there, we see it is still Josh Strang leading. Stu Baylor still very much within striking distance, just a few bike lengths behind. And then we know roughly, maybe give or take 30 seconds behind that is another battle. It looks like we're going to see these guys here in just a moment at the, this should be the Ironman Hill here. And we're waiting on the leaders.
17 minutes away from checkers, by the way, if you're counting it down. So about 17 minutes out before we should see these guys out here at the finish line itself. We're at mile marker number 6 on the racetrack, Ironman Hill.
There we see Josh Strang splashing into the creek, still leading the way. Stu Baylor gets a little sideways there. Stu Baylor does not make it up Ironman Hill.
Man, this is going to be detrimental. This right here, if you look back at a moment that maybe the race slipped away,
that's over. Josh Strang just won the race, folks.
He did. Stu Baylor's bike just fell down the hill even farther. He cannot get that thing fired back up and back up. He's going to have to go down and come back up. Third place is going to catch these guys. Ben Kelly may inherit second place position if Stu Baylor cannot get up this hill on his second attempt now.
Yeah, there he goes. He's up and over the second time.
Wow, he lost at least 20, 30 seconds, maybe 30 seconds or more there on that little. And there comes the 5:30 of Ben Kelly. Now he's about to get himself in pressure and in hot water for that second place position.
Yep, absolutely. Ben Kelly and Caleb Russell now within striking distance of Stu Baylor. Folks, that's why you never turn your head away.
Nope.
That decided the race right then and there.
So about 30 seconds is what we're calculating. The gap has opened up now between first and second. And, you know, we talked about the excitement and those wheel-to-wheel battles, those developed into these moments. There was one of those moments.
Here you see it again. What happens is he just loses the front end there a little bit, and then he tries to grab a handful to make it to the top. He hits that route. It takes away his drive, and at that moment right there.
Yeah, that did it. And then right here, I mean, he just let it go. He just let it go back down the hill.
He did the smart thing there. He knew that at that point, the amount of time it would have taken for them to pull that bike up from there, he would have lost another 20 seconds easy. So he just cut his losses, slid the bike down the hill, and at that moment, Stu Baylor knew.
Surprisingly, went up the same line instead of going around the right side. You would have thought that he would have just went ahead and went around the other way, but obviously didn't. About 30 seconds time lost there between he and the first place position. So if we do start to see it tighten back up, that will get kind of interesting. But I think we're going to see the battle for second. I think that Ben Kelly is now smelling blood in the water, and I think that Josh Strang is on his way home to his second win of the 2020 season.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, barring some major setback for Josh Strang, that trip up Ironman Hill just won him this race.
Wow.
I mean, he's got such a gap. It's an insurmountable amount with this little track left, and as fast as these guys were going, you know, nothing's impossible. We haven't given this guy the trophy yet, but Rodney, you and I have been doing this a long time, and I think we know at this point, barring him having a mechanical failure or some kind of a major issue.
Go ahead and start the machine that carves the name into the trophy.
Yeah, you can start engraving the name. Josh Strang just won himself the 2020 Ironman GNCC. Stu Baylor's amazing run of 3 wins in a row after switching to that AmPro Yamaha has come to an end. Not officially. We'll know here in just a few minutes, but it officially kind of just ended. That trip up Ironman Hill where he did not make it was the end of that run for him today. Now, can he hang on for second, or will Ben Kelly and Caleb Russell be able to put some pressure on him and start chipping away at him to see about maybe even making that a battle for a podium?
I'll tell you, man, it kind of, you know, we're so used to this being the season finale, it kind of lends itself to the hand that you got to go, you got to watch the Buckwheat 100 coming up here in 2 weeks, my friends, because they're coming back out, I think, with the gloves off. Like you said, everybody's trying to leave it out there. Who's going to be the man? They're you know, the measuring contest, whatever you want to call it. What they want to do is put that exclamation point on these on this season. They want these riders to be thinking about what's taking place here, and I think in 2 weeks we're going to see just as intense, if not more intense, racing than what we're witnessing today.
You know what, Rodney? I think the intensity is exactly what you just mentioned, is exactly what's going on out there. I mean, Stu, we saw he was every opportunity he was running it in on Josh Strang. This was not a calculated thing. He was absolutely, like the kids say, sending it. You know, both those guys were. Strang knew Stu was there and knew he was trying to pass him every opportunity and make opportunities where there weren't opportunities. And, you know, in a lot of cases you can shake a guy into a mistake, but man, Josh Strang, that guy's got a lot of experience, a lot of composure, and Stu gave it everything he had. You can't blame the guy for trying, because obviously Strang's not going to pull over and let him by.
No,
he's got to make the pass if he wants to try and get the win, and he was throwing everything he had at it. And unfortunately, just when you take your shot that many times, occasionally you're going to have a bad shot. There's Stu going into the woods there. We'll have to wait and see exactly what the gap is back to. There is Ben Kelly, and is that Caleb Russell as well?
So. Yep. Looks like, yep, that was Caleb. Wow. Again, I'm like, I mean, I'm at a loss for words right now. Yep. You know, I mean, you know things can happen and unexpected things can happen, but sometimes, you know, you just don't expect that. And I'm sure that Josh wasn't expecting it as much as he was hoping, but you have to think that when Josh peaked the top of that hill and he heard that Yamaha right behind him, and then as he crested the hill and kept going, and it faded and it wasn't there anymore, you know he knows he's by himself up front now.
Yeah, and you do have to wonder, you know, Josh, obviously they have, oh, look at this, wild things going on at Ironman Hill. Craig DeLong actually going around the hill, so somebody must be, look at this. Now here's Jordan Ashburn coming, or was that Thad Duvall that went around? No, I think it was Ashburn. So there is it was DeLong that went around. Okay, here we go. Josh Strang on screen at the Monster Mile, leading the way, the 1:14 Monster Energy Babbitt's Online Kawasaki, and he is on the way to a waving checkered flag and his second win of the 2020 season, Rodney.
15.5 minutes is what we're actually 11 minutes is what we have estimated now before the waving of that checker flag. Josh Strang, as you said, is what we're looking and expecting to be the one to take that one. Baylor still in the number 2 spot. Kelly and Russell still battling back there for that number 3 position. The intensity of that battle, I have to think, may take them up to Stu Baylor, especially with the wind knocked out of his sails the way that it has been.
And there is Baylor in that number 2 spot, and he has pulled a little bit out over Ben Kelly. There is Kelly in the 3rd spot, and there is Caleb Russell hot on his heels. So Kelly and Russell still very much battling over 3rd and potentially 2nd, but they've got about 4 to 5 seconds to make up on Stu Baylor. And you know Stu Baylor right now is riding angry. You know, he knows he had a very real shot at this win, and unfortunately it looks, at least to as for now, has slipped away from him.
Well, I tell you, race fans I know are pretty excited about the day, and I know that race fans think Stu still got a chance. It ain't over yet. And you're right, folks. It ain't over till it's over. And we still got 10 minutes or so to go. Stick around. GNCC Live continues after this, right down to the checkers.
Born of family values and a homegrown work ethic, Cometic Gaskets seals your machine so you can focus on the finish line. Cometic Gaskets are the competitive standard for racers who demand the very best. Cometic Gaskets are constructed from superior materials designed to perform in the most demanding environment. Whether it's championships on the line or a day in the dirt with friends, professionals and enthusiasts depend on Cometic. Cometic Gaskets, sealing championships since 1989.
It's hard to put our adventures on hold, but now is the perfect time to prepare for their return. AMSOIL has your back with fast, free shipping, and ordering has never been easier. Just look up your vehicle, select your product, add an oil change to your cart, and check out. Spend $50 on AMSOIL products, and shipping is on us. Order now at AMSOIL.com.
Even when you're the best, you never stop striving to be better. With over 40 years of experience in motorcycle sales and service, we know racing. Our inventory of Yamaha motorcycles, sport bikes, dirt bikes, ATVs, and side-by-sides is extensive and constantly changing. Stop by LoJack Cycle Sales today in Tarentum, Pennsylvania, and visit our online inventory at www.lojacks.com. Yamaha YZs. It's why we ride.
Hi, my name is Andrea Lieb, the director of On Track School. How would you like to go to a school where we take into consideration how students learn best? Well, we do that because we find if we can build the curriculum around the things you are interested in, you're going to do a better job. The mission at On Track School is that educational success is possible while chasing your dreams. Not only will our staff help students to achieve success, they will cheer you on to the finish line. We encourage you to check out On Track School at ontrackschool.com, where we can help you chase your dreams and still get a quality education.
Grand National Cross Country is America's premier off-road motorcycle racing series. Riders compete on extended cross-country courses of 8 to 12 miles per lap and races lasting up to 3 hours. Up the mountains and through the trees, you'll find the best riders in GNCC. On MAV TV, Motorsports Network.
Live coverage of the 2020 GNCC series on RacerTV.com is brought to you by MMI. Get there faster, smarter. Specialized turbo e-bikes. It's you, only faster. And by RockyMountainATVMC.com. Get ready.
Welcome back to GNCC Live, Crawfordsville, Indiana. The 26th running of the Ironman GNCC. Josh Strang on his way home to possibly, it looks like, checker flag in the XC1 Pro class, the XC2 Pro 250 class, though, really heating up right now. Some changes. We saw the 342 there just a moment ago. Lyndon Snodgrass back in the number 2 spot. Mike Witkowski in 3rd. And the amazing thing about it is I didn't see Johnny G, not saying that he didn't go by, but we've got some interesting things happening as far as the championship going on right now, Johnny Gallagher.
Yeah, Rodney, how about it? We keep talking about this exciting points battle over the championship in that XC2 Pro Lights class. Leading the way with 270 points coming in today was Johnny Girard. 2nd place in the points. Only 4 points behind him with 266 was Craig DeLong, and 3rd place in the points with 264, only another 2 points back, was last race winner Mike Witkowski. So as they run right now, Craig DeLong leading, he would take over the points lead in the XC2 class.
Wow.
And we haven't actually seen Johnny Girard on screen unless we missed him. So actually, the way they run right now, it would be Mike Witkowski in 2nd, Craig DeLong leading the way in the points, and Johnny Girard would fall back to 3rd. And again, stressing the fact that we do not think Johnny Girard has come by. We may have missed him. There's Liam Draper.
Right.
So we think that is now the 4th place rider, and it appears that Johnny Girard has dropped from this battle for the top 4 at least. So if he would finish 5th, that would drop him all the way back to 3rd place in points, despite the fact he was actually the points leader coming into today.
Well, whenever they came through last time, he was running in the number 5 spot at the end of lap number 6. He was about 2 minutes behind Liam Draper. So,
all right, well, that answers that question.
Yeah, so that explains why we haven't seen Johnny G just yet, Johnny G. And that's kind of strange to say it like that. But nonetheless, so yeah, that really heats things up as far as that championship is concerned, and makes it kind of exciting, I think. And we still got one more round of racing to go in that one.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, you got to ask yourself, when you've been battling for 12 rounds and you have to go to the final round battling not only one guy but 2 guys for a championship,
that close, and it's not like you have two guys that have an outside chance of somebody DNFs. It literally may come down to at Ironman, or at, I'm sorry, what do we call them the next round? The Buckwheat GNCC. It may come down to who finishes ahead of who at the Buckwheat GNCC in 2 weeks to determine that XC2 title between our former points leader of Johnny Girard, second place in points coming into today, which we believe as they run right now will be your points leader leaving the day, will be Craig DeLong, and moving into second place in points would be the Ampro Yamaha of Mike Witkowski. So man, talk about championship implications. Those guys are absolutely shaking it up out there right now.
Well, just got a report, Johnny, from our good buddy Justin Fravel there. He tells us that Thad Duvall ran out of gas back over that way someplace.
Well, and that comes back to, we did see that the KTM boys came in and took a shot of fuel. There is our 5th place rider in XC2. That's Cody Barnes, the number 99 factory beta, a rider that we've seen having a lot of top 5s and good showings here as of late. So that is your 5th place rider. So if Johnny Girard wants to make up any points, last we saw he was in the 5th place spot, and there is your 4th place rider right there. So we'll see how that. But how about this? Lyndon Snodgrass, right there, still battling for the lead. Final lap, we've seen him show flashes of brilliance. We've seen him lead races, but if he gets the job done today, it'll be the first time, despite the speed he's shown, that he's actually came through and held it all the way to the finish. And this could be the arrival of yet another contender in that XC2 class. Not for the 2020 championship, but rumors say he's back for 2021 and back with the same team.
Wouldn't surprise me a bit, and rightfully so, because he is really coming to his own as far as this GNCC racing world is concerned. We are less than, I think, 2 minutes out now, probably about a minute away from what we should be seeing the number 114 of Josh Strang making his way into the closing and final moments of this 3-hour race. We are now over 3 hours. We are 3 hours and 45 seconds. 3 hours, 3 minutes and 45 seconds, working on 3 hours and 4 minutes at this point. Not that that's a long extended time or anything like that, but as we say that, we look onto this moto track, and
there he is.
There he is. Man, you talk about the weight of the world lifted off your shoulder after that injury, that shoulder injury this summer.
Okay, he's giving the fist pump to the crowd, Rodney.
Man, this is a great day in GNCC racing, no doubt about it, to get to see Josh Strang back on the top of the box once again. And he did it with competition. I mean, in the way that he rose to the occasion today against Stu Baylor, and Baylor gave everything that he could give to him today, but it just wasn't enough, because when it all boiled down to the bottom, right here it is.
Look how close Stu Baylor got. He got right back almost to Strang, and right behind him, Ben Kelly. This one's not over, folks. No. Ben Kelly still putting pressure on Stu Baylor with 2 turns to go over that second place position.
Josh Strang takes the checkers and the win, and the battle for second coming down to the closing moments here at the Ironman GNCC. It will be Stu Baylor followed by Ben Kelly, both riding behind Josh Strang in his second win of the 2020 season. Wow, Johnny, I tell you, my friend, that today, I mean, I don't know that I would have been able to have guessed this podium. I would not have been able to guess that this would have gone this way today. The one thing that I would have said is that I knew that at least these 3 riders probably would have been in the mix of things. How it all shook down, how it all broke down throughout the course of that 3 hours and near 5 minutes of racing that they put forth on this racetrack out here today. I don't know. 3 hours, 4 minutes, and 50 seconds is when Josh Strang took that checker flag today.
Yeah, I'm with you, Rodney. I had Stu up there for a battle for the win. I had Josh Strang in the battle, and I had Ben Kelly in the battle. I honestly did not have Caleb, not because I didn't think he was capable of it. I just felt like wrapping up the championship last round. Wasn't even 100% sure that he would go today, and if he did, obviously knew he would battle for a win, but wasn't sure if he was going to race or not. And so for him to be right there within seconds of the win as well, all of these guys just laid it all out on the line. Thad Duvall there for much of the race. Sounds like he had some issues. He was another rider, I think I even said earlier in the show, I really thought today would have been a good day for him to be on the podium or potentially even a win. Right. But, everybody kind of showed the speed we expected, but when it came right down to it,
can't really say he was the underdog because this guy is a former GNCC champion, a multi-time GNCC winner. And ladies and gentlemen at home, put your hands together for that man right there. Josh Strang on the number 114 Monster Energy Babbitt's Online Kawasaki getting the win today here at Ironman 2020. What a ride.
No doubt about it. I'll tell you, man, I'll tell you some of their success has been exciting to watch unfold this year. You know, coming into this one, you always have that mindset, and there's so much emphasis put on Big Kelly and Josh Toth and their arrivals, and obviously with Caleb Russell going for his 8th and final championship that year. But there was so much, you know, we all were looking at those other 2 KTM riders, and we're kind of maybe dismissing some of the other guys as the stiffer competition for the 2020 season. Amazing. Even the, you know, I realize that those guys come in maybe a little under the weather as far as injuries and things like that, getting injured right before the season and so forth. So, you know, that may have taken the wind out of their sails, but to say that we were going to have the season that we had, I would have never guessed it to be what we are witnessing here today. There's no doubt about that. And I'll tell you, man, it has certainly been worth every moment that I've traveled to every race and been at every race and made the call on every race. And to see this guy right here get the win is it's a goosebump moment for me as we head down to the winner's circle with Mikey Waynes and, of course, Josh Strang.
Well, thanks, Rodney. Yeah, down here with Josh Strang, man. Strang, what a battle here today with Stu Baylor, man. Able to snag out the win, the 2nd win of the year.
Yeah, it was, man, and the track was fun, super fast. So it kept a few of us there together. And then I think 2nd or 3rd lap, Stu tried to get away, and I was able to, Caleb crashed with the lapper, I think, and I was able to jump on the back of Stu. And for the rest of the race, man, we were going at it. So it was good, man, pumped to get the win, and it's awesome.
Well, Strang, talk to us a little bit, man. Early in the season, you hadn't finished off the box. I think the worst you had was a 3rd. You had the win there at Camp Coker, and then a little injury. It came back. It wasn't the best day for you. I got to think, after the win today, injury a total non-factor for you.
Yeah, the first 8 rounds were, I mean, it was a perfect season besides the winning, you know. So I was able to battle with Caleb there for a few races and was able to get the win at Coker, and I felt strong in 2 weeks or 3 weeks before that we came back from the summer break. I fractured my scapula, so just a bummer, man. It was I was feeling good, and just I mean, injuries happen in this sport, and it sucks. I missed 1 round and then came back fairly early for the next one, and I just wanted to get some points at that one, and I got a couple, and then the last race was better, and here again better again. So it's hard racing back to back to recover to get to 100%, but I feel pretty good today.
Well, Strang, congratulations to you. You guys out here at Ironman, make some noise. Your overall winner here today, Josh Strang!
The freight train, man, he's a rolling, no doubt about that. I tell you, he's getting up the speed, and I think that's a good nickname for him. They deemed him the freight train several years ago, and man, he's chugging along like a big old choo-choo right now, man. I mean, it's taking him a while to get up to speed, but once he does, wow. And this guy right here.
Speaking about chugging, this guy's going to be doing some chugging a little later of a different guy.
He was chugging earlier today, man. What a great season so far. Let's head back down with Mikey Waynes and now Stu Baylor.
Thanks, guys. Well, Stu Baylor, man, you were battling with Strang throughout the entire day in this one. You were out front, and we thought it was going to be a bar-banging battle there through the finish line. Had a little trouble there on Ironman Hill.
Yeah, you know, it was a good day, and I made a push on lap 2, thinking it was a 6-lap race, and I wanted to get a little gap, and the lappers were just absolutely treacherous out there today, and every time I felt like I could get a little bit of traction, we would hit another lapper, and I think at one point I went down, and Strang got tangled up in the back of me, and from there I was like, all right, you know, I'm just going to chill out, and he got the lead in the pits, and I kind of recovered for the last 2 laps to try to give it everything I had, and as I was coming, apparently Craig the long one, I guess. As I was coming through that Ironman Hill, you know, I was all over him, and you know, Josh has been in that position multiple times, so we know he can handle the pressure, and I was trying to give him everything I had, and he had a little bit more, and you know, we made that mistake, and it cost us a good 30-40 seconds, and I pushed as hard as I could to the finish, but it just wasn't enough. But you know, all in all, it's a good day. Would have loved to keep the streak up, but you know, we're back on the podium in front of the Ironman crowd, and you know, I'm happier than hell.
Well, Stu, good work for you, man. If I've said this to Caleb many times, and I got a feeling I'm going to say it to you a lot in these last 2 rounds and moving into 2020, if a second place or a third place is a bad day for Stu Baylor, you got to feel good.
Yeah, I wouldn't call it a bad day. Anytime we're on the box, it's a good day. But I felt like I had a little bit more there in the end, and we just wasted it. I was trying to make moves in the wrong places, and a lot of times timing is more important than anything out here.
All right, last question for you. Axel Hodges.
I owe him a case of beer.
And he owes you a mullet.
And he owes me a mullet.
When is that going to happen? Did you guys sort out the
We're
details?
We're going to have to figure this one out.
Carrie Joe needs to book Stu Baylor a flight to California is what it sounds like to me.
That would work for me. I'll bring my clippers. It'll be one butchered mullet.
All right, there you go. Congratulations. Make some noise. Second place finisher, Stu Baylor.
Boy, that guy doesn't know how to have any fun at all.
No, not a bit. Not a bit. I tell you, man, great personality in GNCC Racing. A fan favorite. There's no doubt about that. Man, talk about, the push that he put on. And you said, I didn't realize he had closed. 4.5 seconds is what the difference was between those two riders when they came through first and second place. Strang and Baylor at the finish. Ben Kelly was only 1.5 seconds behind Stu Baylor. So that battle really intensified, I think, there on that final lap. Caleb Russell finishes up fourth and Lane Michael in fifth. Let's head down to the winner's circle once again, where Mikey Wayne stands by with our third place, Ben Kelly.
Thanks, Rodney. Down here with Ben Kelly. And Ben, what a wild ride today. I mean, the battle, it seemed like for 3 hours, Rodney and I and Johnny G, we had 5 names coming out of our mouths at once. It was just, it was sick. It was fun to watch. I mean, at one point we were saying that the people having the most fun right now are the people at home and people at the track watching. Talk to us about this Ironman GNCC.
Yeah, it was crazy. I've never raced Ironman this dry, and it was super fast. I'm used to it being soft and rutted and having to pick your line, but yeah, it was so fast, and not much where you could get stuck or hung up. So the whole XC1 pack was together, and yeah, everyone was just going really fast. I struggled in the beginning, just couldn't find a flow or rhythm, but about halfway I picked it up. I had no choice, and yeah, started going good and felt really fast. But yeah, it's hard to come through the pack. Just the track is so fast and everyone's going so good, and the track's so rough. I didn't want to go down, didn't want to take anyone else down. So yeah, I just did the best I could, and yeah, I was able to catch back up to the leaders there and try to make my way through them. But yeah, they were going fast, and overall, I guess happy with how I rode the second half.
Absolutely, no doubt about that. Well, Ben, talk to us. Rewind to last year. This was our season finale, obviously. You had been on the XC2. The last few rounds you raced pro class, and you were clicking off those wins. So was that kind of in the back of your mind heading into today? And I know season, been kind of some ups and downs with injuries, this, that, and the other. Do you feel like you need to get another win before this season's up and only one round of racing left?
I don't feel like I need to, but I definitely want to. I know I can win, and yeah, last year I won pretty much everything I entered in, so I just had momentum and confidence, and here I'm kind of working out of a slump, but yeah, I know I'm riding good. It's just I'm not as consistent as maybe I was last year, but I'm getting there, and yeah, feeling good, and I just one more race, I'm gonna do all I can to get that win.
There you go, guys. That is your third place finisher here today, Ben Kelly.
Wow, Johnny, I tell you, man, what a phenomenal kid, man. I mean,
how about the fact that he says he's riding his way out of a slump, and he's been on the podium the last 3 races? Keep in mind, folks, that's an XC1 rookie saying that. So,
and it's funny. What's so funny about that is, I mean, it's exciting to see how this all plays out. And Mikey had made the statement to Stu, if a second place or a third place is a bad day for you, then that's a good thing. So it sounds like that maybe this third place that he seems to be a little bit disappointed in is a good thing.
Yeah, and I think you see that a lot with guys that just win and win and win and win. Keep in mind, Ben had essentially a perfect season last year in XC2. He won virtually, I think he won every race that he ran in XC2. So it's, it makes a big difference. But speaking of XC2, Rodney, we have got ourselves an absolute barn burner of a championship battle. And this guy right here just put himself on top of the points for the season. There he is, the 342 of Craig DeLong on the Rockstar Energy Husqvarna. It looks like Mikey's ready to go with him.
Well, Craig, talk to us, man. One of the hot topics, if not the hottest topic of the day, was that XC2 battle. Sounds like this thing's going to go right down to the wire in West Virginia in a couple weeks. You've been in, for you, I would say, a little bit of a slump. Hadn't seen that first place finish in a while. You changed that today.
Yeah, it was a wild day. I was 5th place for, I'd say, 3/4 of the race, and then about an hour to go, I went from 5th to 1st all in one lap, and I made it happen. And man, it was wild. It was just a all-out sprint all day, and the guys were riding awesome. It's tough to make up time, and it was one of those things where you just had to like block out all your scaredness and just go for it. So definitely happy to get done. A lot of pressure, and it feels good.
Well, the pressure's certainly on now as we head into West Virginia in a couple weeks, man. Talk to us about what kind of confidence this win here at Ironman gives you heading into the Buckwheat 100.
It's good, definitely, for my confidence. You know, it's been a couple races, like you said, since I won. So to do it again and to do it like that, it's really good. But, you know, these guys are riding good, so it's going to take whoever's on their game, you know, that's going to win. So for me, I got to go out and kind of do it all over again. Try to forget about this weekend, just focus on the next one.
On to the next one. There you go. Your winner here today in the XC2, Craig DeLong.
You know, Rodney, it's funny how momentum works in racing, in athletics, and especially in GNCC racing. A few races ago, and I'll be honest, I was one of those people, I wasn't writing Craig DeLong off, but I was to the point where I was thinking, I don't know if he's still in this fight. Well, he's your points leader after today.
Well, he's in the fight. There's no doubt about it. And now he's taking on all challengers with 1 round to go in 2 weeks. From wild, wonderful West Virginia, once again, it's the Buckwheat 100. You're going to want to join us for that for round number 13. A look at these Yamaha Racing Ironman stats for the day. Josh Strang, Stu Baylor, Ben Kelly, Caleb Russell, Lane Michael, your top 5. Grant Baylor finishing up in 6th. 7th overall, winning that XC2 Pro class. Craig DeLong, Lyndon Snodgrass, 2nd in the class. 8th overall. Jordan Ashburn, 9th overall. And Michael Witkowski, your 3rd place 250 Pro rider there, rounds out your top 10. Well, Johnny, I tell you, as far as closing thoughts on this one today, I can say is wow, wow, wow.
And I'll match that with a yeehaw!
Hey, man, I can't wait to head to the Buckwheat in just a couple of weeks. There's no doubt about it as we check out this
This was the moment where Stu Baylor able to get around this down lap rider. Caleb Russell going down. We don't know if that was when he did the damage that required the extra pit stop. Josh Strang sneaking around right there on screen. Caleb Russell getting up and going.
We talk about the moment that won the race. We talk about that hill climb for Stu Baylor. How about that right there? The going down and him moving into 2nd. That might have been the spot that he actually won the race in. But regardless, caught a lot of neat and wild things throughout the course of the day there with, of course, Thad Duvall, and we saw what happened down there at the creek. I mean, just crazy stuff, man. And then he ran out of gas. But, wow, here we are. That's the way it ends, and that's going to wrap it up for us. Johnny, have a great day. Mikey Waynes, thank you very much. And all of us here at RacerTV.com, I want to salute all the crew. You're doing a great job, man, and making it such a great time to watch racing on TV. Again, for all of us at RacerTV.com, I'm Rodney Tomlin. Have a great day, everybody.